you have too much cushion in your push? Do you suffer from too much traction and action while you're thrashing and bashing at the late night smashing? Try Manscraper. Manscraper is for the manly man. Sure, you can get little kid trimmers from the competitors as they daintily dance around your third arm and muckles. Manscaped is for a different beast. It's for dudes from another brood who didn't politely need to clip but need to hedge trim like they leg-choked Wilt Chamberlain in the glory years. Using our patent-pending 15-horsepower chipper shredder with advanced gonad alert technology, we can promise you the best shave you're ever going to get. And with Manscaped 2.0, there's approximately 12% less chance of injury. For only $499.99, you can get the Manscraper. 4 plastic bags for collecting your work and a 6-ounce container of aloe vera. If you order now, we'll also throw in the Demanscalator. If you have nose thunder, down under, or just need a good washing, just hang our 4.2-pound Demanscalator from your junk. Why shower when you can power through the hour, smelling like a tower of flowers? The Demanscalator gives your wrinkled boys the washing of a lifetime, certified to pass any antibacterial test for 6 months after use. Current research shows no impact on fertility. And last but not least, if you order now, we're going to throw in a little Gorilla Glue, because once you're done, you can make a beard out of all the leftovers. I mean, who doesn't want to dress up for Halloween, right? Why let all that good go to wasting? Manscaped, shaving your man grapes like you deserve. And if you join our Patreon now, you can join our photo collection group, where you can we can send in no, don't send me in nudes. Seriously, don't. No, I don't want to leave it, because I'm sure somebody's going to be out there going, hey man, I'll send in some nudes after I wash my skunk. But anyway, Manscaped. Don't join the Patreon just to send nudes, but join the Patreon if you want to. Manscaped. If you want nuts so clean you can eat
They look like, by the way.
There we go.
If they're not moving, they look fine. But the moment one of those fucking
Really? The
8-legged
animations?
centipede-looking pandas try to move, yes, they look like.
Why not just make the Half-Life 3 cupcake and sell it to everybody, right? Even if it leaves a terrible taste in your mouth, people will still have bought your cupcake. And the analogy breaks at some point, so bear with me, right?
And this one time, my mom bought me a shirt, and I was in high school, and I'd been powerlifting and then stopped. So I was like fucking 280 or something like that. And they were buying for 190-pound kid. So it was like a medium. And I put that on, and it was like a sausage roll with legs, man. And my mom would not stop demanding I put it on. And I'm like, put it on, put it on. Your grandma wants to see it. This might be her last year alive. And I'm like, well, we're not going to die and have the last memory in her life be of me squeezed into this thing like a toothpaste. He'd have dinosaurs delivering your What if all you heard was a scratching at your door, and it's like,
It has really small hands, so it can't really carry
and so
stuff.
it's like, it's got the box, but it's holding it like a snicker, like this. It's all, here's your pill.
You
But
might need to package that.
it'd be a
in
surprise
more
mechanic.
marketable format.
Occasionally, the box would
Surprise
open,
mechanic,
and there
there you
wouldn't be
go.
a Tyrannosaurus in it. And other times, so what if there was $1 million in one canister? You drop a railroad car, soundproof, so you can't tell. You drop a railroad car, and there's either a rabid Tyrannosaurus, probably already rabid. So, but you get a Tyrannosaurus in one, maybe some guns on him,
Fairly.
and then the other one's got $1 million. And you're like, everybody go there, and if you open the door, surprise, you get one or the other. They look like.
What's up, everybody? This is Carrick with ACG, and I'm here with Silver and Johnny for the Best Gaming Podcast number 490. Yes, I remembered. Number 490. And the dogs barked. Dude, it's perfect timing. It's synergy. They know. Man, they're like, and the doorbell rang. Dogs doorbell.
Fantastic.
Every time. Dude, it doesn't matter when I do it. It's 10:36 my time. Dog's just barking away. Geez, sorry, everybody. This is just the way it is when you have little tiny itsy bitsy baby stupid animals living in your house, which also includes dogs, not including children. We are going to be talking about Final Fantasy 6. These dogs. Can you guys hear them?
Yeah, just
They are
faintly.
going absolutely balls out right now. We're going to talk about Final Fantasy 16's port report on the PC. We're going to talk about God of War port report. Ragnarok is on Steam. We're going to talk about Star Wars Jedi Survivor's port. We're going to talk about Helldivers. We're going to talk about Dragon Age and all the previews that came out. We're going to talk about Like a Pirate Yakuza. That'll be my official name. I have no exact clue
It
what
should
it's
have
called.
been that. Yeah.
It should have been. What is it called? Do you know?
It's a pirate in Hawaii or something.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, hire me.
Come on. Like a pirate. What?
Like
I mean,
a
that doesn't
pirate.
even make any
It
sense.
writes itself.
It writes
Like-
itself. Yeah, it does everything. I did pause my game to get here, by the way. And then we're going to talk about other gaming news as well. What's up, Gaz? Multiple people in here from other channels. I absolutely appreciate you guys doing it. Speaking of other channels, we are going to pimp out at least one person who covered Dragon Age Veilguard. I was showing Johnny and Silver this, well, our Discord this. In previews, man, especially previews for these games, like you never quite know. A lot of them are just like, yeah, you do this and you do that, you know, and the ones that go, a lot of times you can't even tell if somebody's gone to an event versus somebody who's just regurgitating data because they're not detailed. But Boomstick Gaming did a breakdown of Dragon Age, all the classes, all the abilities, all the synergies. That's how you do a preview, man.
Yeah.
That's how you do a preview. That was like, I was sincerely impressed. I saw it in Reddit, and I rarely post on Reddit, and I immediately went there and was like, this is one of the best videos that's when somebody, yes, they got paid to go, I'm sure, or they got free stuff, whatever, because it's the same event I got invited to, so I know, you know, what that entails. So they got a paid-for trip to play a game. But you can rarely tell, and I'm telling you guys this, if you get a chance, go look at previews where you find somebody who's just previewing a game generally and somebody who's gone. And a lot of times, other than them stating they went, there's not a lot of difference. This one filled a difference. So we're going to talk about that. And I'm excited because what I saw, at least from a combat standpoint, looked pretty damn cool.
It looked pretty damn good. And the presentation too. I
Mhm.
thought it made me much more excited about how it comes together in gameplay compared to what we saw, you know, like the cinematics and everything.
Yeah, man. I gotta say, I came out of that going, oh damn.
Yeah.
Like, not, oh, I'm gonna love it, but well, first of all, again, better coverage made me be able to identify what the game was. Because half of the time, man, you see these previews and you do this and you're a member of the Veilguard and you're like, we know that. We've known that since the very first trailer. Can we get something new? And I am an absolute instigator. I do the same thing when I do a preview. And this has caused me to like look at it and go, might be a little bit more. You have to make sure the people who give you the preview code are okay with that. But apparently they were in this case.
Oh, like the one you did where it was too much information and they told you to pull it or something?
Dying Light 2, man.
Dying Light 2.
Dying Light 2. That thing was doing game busters. I was so excited. I posted that and I was really proud of the work. One of the few times I've done a preview, and this might be why I sort of stepped away from them, but I was so excited, man. I was just like, this is the preview, and it was doing insane numbers. And I was like, oh, it's so nice to be rewarded when you do the extra work. And I was like, blah, blah, blah. And then, could you take it down? It's too detailed. I was like, wait, what? You guys were the ones who told me I could do it. Yeah, well, other people are complaining that they weren't that detailed. I'm like, dude, that has nothing to do with me. Hopefully he doesn't get his taken down because he covered an insane amount of stuff as well. I would say his was more in depth. But
yeah, because I watched a couple others and they were much more on the surface.
oh, they were
level.
Gennaro. Yeah,
Even
they were
for
Gennaro.
People who claimed they had gone and everything, but yeah, it was much more surface level.
Yeah. Let's see. Looks like Robert's in here. Jamal's in here. Johnny, I can see him right now, is in here. Johnny plays Garen. Oh, gotcha. Okay, from your other channel.
The new not so secret channel.
Yeah.
anymore.
Septic Sauce Gaz is in here. Welcome, sir. Abbreviated reviews. I already said Chance Ruggiero. What's up, man? Praise the fun, mofos. Good afternoon.
Indeed.
Jay Reaper. Kel. Brazghost. A lot of Bants on Fire. God damn, a lot of people from the Discord. Yeah, I want to say thank you very much for people jumping into the Discord lately. We've had some new people joining up. It helps the channel. What have you guys been playing?
Honestly,
mainly-
mostly Space Marine. Sorry, go Silver.
Yeah, no, same. Mostly Space Marine 2.
Yeah.
With some Helldivers 2 on the side.
Dude, do you guys think you're playing Space Marine because it gets away from the moralistic push? I'm sorry. You probably don't even get that joke. What the CEO supposedly left a YouTube comment where he's like, we wanted to make a game like this that got away from pushing morals on people, and everybody lost their mind. In the day and age when Palworld is being sued by Nintendo, the biggest reporting from all these websites was about a CEO stating we just wanted to make a gung-ho game that got a little bit away from the the pushing of morals and stuff, and the you know the weird let's say heavy weight of things, and no one knows if it's real. I don't care. I just thought that was funny. With Space Marine, do you guys find yourself with the idea of continually playing it? Do you think you'll step away in the next couple weeks? Do you think, like, is the grind still rewarding you?
I don't know. It's not really the grind rewarding me.
No shit. Okay.
For me, it's really just fundamentally like the gameplay and playing with others, like the social aspect of it. That's really what it is. Like I actually quite enjoy. Like I have maxed out a bunch of characters. I quite enjoy just going into low level difficulties and just playing with new players and helping them out, running them through so they can get their armory data or whatever, so they can upgrade their items. Teaching them how to play the game. I really enjoy those aspects. Yeah, the social aspects really are what is sort of keeping me engaged in the game more so than the grinding, which gets a little tedious because the combat is a little rough. It's fun, but it's also quite rough in places. I feel like, especially the more you play it, the more you start to notice where the seams start to come undone a little bit. And it starts to wear on you a little, I feel like, but so far it's kept me engaged, and I think, considering the people I play it with and whatnot, I've played it with people in the Discord, I've played it with people in my social circle. That's going to continue for a while.
People are arguing that you're quiet, and then other people are saying that they can hear you fine. It's pretty typical. But as Johnny continues to talk, I might switch around the audio a little bit. Johnny, what about you?
Yeah, I like the combat a lot. There are some issues where maybe your ability doesn't respond in time, or a parry doesn't go through, things like that. But overall, what I like is how even when we're playing with people and we're talking, when the action gets, everybody kind of goes quiet because we're all in the zone, and I love that feeling of like being just in focus and engrossed in the moment to moment. I think it does a great job. It's a good balance between like butt clenching, but also pretty chill to play, even at higher difficulties. Yeah, I really enjoy it. I like the different classes. The weapons are pretty good. I would like to see some more weapons. That's the one thing, and maps, but they're adding them in the future. So I'm okay with what we got so far.
People are saying I'm loud and you guys aren't. But people are saying it's better. I didn't change anything. Okay. Anyway, I haven't got a chance. I literally haven't changed. Jesus. Anyway, no clue what's going on, but it looks like if. Oh man, maybe the sound was like, hey, watch out for the dogs. We got to turn this down. But if you guys were a little too quiet for anybody to hear, seems like some people were hearing it fine. But to reiterate, it does seem like a lot of us are liking Space Marine, not just because of the grind, but the social aspect of being able to just jump in and play with random people. It seems like that's one of the. Go ahead.
Our group, it's been a lot of fun. It's a nice way to couch a conversation because we're all doing something common. So there's we're constantly switching between a topic we're discussing, and then again when the action gets intense, we're fully on that, and it's a nice pace.
I've been watching Silver and let's see, Silver. So it's usually Silver Cyanide and Strevin, I think, right?
Yeah.
Silver Cyanide and Strevin. Cyanide spelled with a C. Too bad. But CSC, you guys have been jumping into this for a great deal of time. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm going to get bored of it, but I will say that I've been playing this long enough that it feels like when they do add a level or two, I'll jump right back in. It doesn't feel,
right.
Yeah,
it's like one of those games we've liked in the past that are similar in multiplayer, like World War Z, or Back 4 Blood as well. Recently, those games that you can return to pretty easily, for sure.
Yeah. Silver, what did you pick a certain color scheme? Did you go with a certain like Space Marine scheme, or are you just random whatever looks cool.
Mostly I've been rocking the Blood Ravens because like they've going back to Dawn of War. That just feels like a nice continuation. Also, they fought the Tyranids in Dawn of War 2, so carrying that legacy over to Space Marine 2 feels kind of appropriate a little bit. But other than that, I just sort of mix and match what feels appropriate. So I'll use Ultramarine colors because that's canonically what the characters are actually supposed to be. Or I'll use like other like Black Templar if it's a melee oriented, if I'm playing melee oriented, or like Imperial Fist if I'm using like heavy ranged firepower or the like. So I'll try and go to approach it from like a canon standpoint.
What about you, Johnny? Have you been, or I feel like you're a little like me where you just choose what looks good?
I choose what looks good. Yeah, it's not lore related. Funny enough, I've liked the white, like full white, a lot because it looks fantastic. It looks clean.
Just joking.
Yeah, and you're just bathed in blood, which is really cool to see the dynamic like splatter all over you and stuff. You see really well with that color. I think it looks great. But yeah, honestly, a lot of them look fantastic. So very often I'm switching around and getting different metal colors and stuff like that to the ornaments and everything. So yeah, I think it's one of the highlights. The customization really keeps you engaged with it.
Yeah, we've covered this a lot, so there's not much more to say. It is a good game. They've got some stuff added. I don't know if anybody knows there's a mod that lets you add the missions from the campaign into the operations folder and play with people online using the campaign maps, and seems to be working well. I saw a mod on Nexus Files that did that. Haven't got to engage with it other than to load it up and see that it did load up this, the level, and it seemed to work. But there's a mod out there for that, and that would be my only negative in the game is maybe if it unlocked after you beat it, because they might be nervous people are going to go in and somehow ruin the surprise or somehow maybe game the system in some way. I don't know, but I would have liked I think having the campaign levels being unlocked would be really beneficial to them. That's an extra 6 or 7, right? 6 or 7 full levels. Yeah, I think that would be fun, even if you just threw a horde mode in there and just said these are practice levels.
Yeah, horde mode is going to be super fun. There are a few like quality of life fixes that would go a long way. For example, you know how the bots currently are totally basic, right? They're like basic suit and basic upgrades and everything. But what if when you start a mission, once you have the private lobbies, if you have bots, they actually have your configuration. So if you have a sniper bot, well, the sniper is now using what you've selected for sniper and looks like your sniper. Like in Vermintide. That'd be really good. Also, there's an issue currently where the weapon perks are shared across classes. So if I'm playing heavy and heavy shares a weapon with tactical, when I switch to tactical now has the same weapon perks. So I can't have a different set of perks for tactical compared to, which is a problem because the perks go directly into build crafting, right? Like your build needs to go tailored to what you're trying to do. So that's one pain point there. But it's pretty nitpicky, right? Like in practice, because
I don't think it's too nitpicky because the other thing is the loadouts are available, and when you switch loadout, it also doesn't switch perks. And those, if you go to a shotgun, or the melt-a-gun, whatever the big shotgun-looking flamethrowing thing, if you switch to that from something else, you could definitely look at your perks and go, man, I wish I could switch these perks. There's a couple perks here I would like to be able to switch. All things they stated they are fixing. They stated that's pretty high up on their list to make sure that's done. Juice says TC Card Shop Simulator is what he's playing. Funny enough, we talked about that for like an hour yesterday in our Discord because we were talking about the simulator games doing well, and I hadn't heard of this one and looked it up, and we were just
TCG?
like, what the
Help me out.
Yeah,
What's that?
the collectible card game. But listen to this. Not only that, it's got like stinky people coming to play, and you have to kick them out if they like don't watch. You know, it's sort of it's I guess you could say it's a little close. It's a little close on some things, but it looked enjoyable as hell to me, and it's about putting on events at your, you know, at your tables, bringing people in, selling the cards, that kind of stuff. A lot of ripoffs of Pokemon though in the cards, and we'll talk about that in a second. Why that might be a no-go. You know, that might be a bad plan.
Nintendo's coming for your ass.
Yeah, Nintendo's coming. Well, we can just jump to that. So yeah, so Palworld, you know, they originally there were reports that there were some issues with the models and stuff like that. And anybody who played the game, I mean, let's be honest, if you played the game, you were like, there's some stuff that's really close here.
Oh yeah.
But it got close enough that Nintendo said, hey, we're looking into it. That died out. No real reporting for months. And then this last week, Nintendo decided that they were going to sue them. But they're suing them for systems and mechanics. So I don't really know, you know, what I guess you could say it's a little bit like somebody suing somebody for Nemesis system, because WB has you know, restricted that to themselves. But yeah, they finally came after them, and weirdly enough, that also impacts Xbox because I think they're free on Game Pass still. So like Nintendo wants past cash too. Nintendo's like in their lawsuit, they're looking for not only the you know, to stop whatever's occurring, but they also want to in some way, you know, get back cash owed to them. And Nintendo is pretty litigious, man. When they go after somebody, I don't see Nintendo. They're not going to drop just because somebody says, even if, like, let's say Palworld said, we're going to remove everything that looks like Nintendo. I don't feel like Nintendo's going to stop. Nintendo's just going to drive them to the ground. So
they couldn't do that because there wouldn't be anything, pretty much.
Like that is true. As they're like, Palworld, we've gone in, we've identified what looks a lot like Pokemon, and we've released it. Here is our title screen. Enjoy the game.
They only have like two pals now. They have Depresso.
Yeah, Depresso pal and like a randomly bearded beanie wearing pal.
One because he was actually depressed. Like you could tell in his posture, he was like going through the motions.
Yeah, man. Eeyore as a Pokemon, right? Yeah. Dude. So, but you know, it doesn't surprise me. And people were like, "Oh, well, Nintendo didn't say anything for this amount of time. How dare they?" And I'm all, dude, that's not how it goes. They don't. It's not a running report. It's not a newscast every Friday at 5 where Nintendo has to state what they're doing. That's not how it works. They looked into it. They did it at their speed, which, you know, is any company's right. And they're suing them, which, whether I agree with that or not, this is pretty much exactly the way I expected it to go down. But I was hoping, because it got quiet for so long, I was hoping Nintendo had just stepped away and decided, like, okay, you know, I don't know, man. They must see something in there. And to be honest, I played Pokemon I played Pokemon a little bit when I was younger. I played a bit of Palworld, probably 40 or 60 hours. I did see some overlap that caused me to, you know, like any game, we did it with Gears of War. Oh, this plays a little like, with Space Marine. Oh, it plays a little like Gears of War. I did that kind of thing where I was like, that's a little like Pokemon. That's a little like Pokemon. That's a little like Pokemon. So, and then here we are now where apparently Nintendo believes that as well. Did you guys ever do much of Palworld? Did you guys spend a lot of time?
Did none of it.
Did none of it.
I haven't done any Pokemon either, for that matter.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay. Well, that's sort of what I would expect anyway from most of us. What about you, Johnny?
Yeah, as a kid, I played a lot of the Pokemon games, like Pokemon Red, Pokemon Yellow, and those on emulator. But none of the recent ones, they really didn't grab me. I tried a few on the Switch of the recent ones, but they weren't doing anything interesting. And Palworld wasn't really something I wanted to play. It looked pretty jank, to be honest. I liked the idea of like the pals doing work for you and stuff. That was cool.
Right.
But it was enough for me to watch some of you guys play it and be like, you know?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Moving on from there, Helldivers 2 got a big patch, and we still haven't heard anything about the races, but you did jump into the big patch after it was done, right, Silver? And you had said you had played some. And how's that like? What's the report on that? Has it improved a great deal? Or did you feel like it needed it?
I think it's gonna be popular with a lot of people. Like I wasn't as unhappy with the state of the game as most people
Sure.
are a very, very vocal contingent of the player
Yeah.
base.
Yeah.
Seem to be. I think they seem to be responding very positively to this change, which has buffed a significant portion of the weapons to where your time to kill is now a lot faster for even the larger enemies. So you can kill larger enemies like Bile Titans, which are the largest Terminate sort of bug-like enemies. You can kill those in a lot of different ways now, where you were sort of confined to a select few strategies earlier. You have a lot more options now for how to take them out. That does make the game a little easier in that sense, but in turn, they also sort of made you sort of more vulnerable in that you take take less damage to the head, but you take more damage to every other part of your body. So you die a lot faster in this game now than you used to. So that's something people are going to have to adjust to as well. I think it's still a lot of fun. It's still hectic. It's still chaotic. It's still scratches that tactical itch I have, where it's really, really engaging for me as a game. It's still really fun. It has made a lot of the it has made it a lot more fun to run loadouts, because you did feel sort of obligated to run certain loadouts to address certain situations, but now more loadouts can address more different situations. So you're more free to sort of just run whatever loadout you want, independent of what everybody else is running, because you will generally be able to handle any situation if you're good enough. I think that's an asset to the game. Unfortunately, there have been some bugs. One I've noticed is the eradicate missions, which are sort of defense missions where you have to hold out against waves of enemies until you kill a particular number of them, and then you'll get evacuated. The waves spawn in so slowly now that you won't be able to hit the number you need to complete the mission by the end of the mission. So you will pretty much automatically fail the mission, which is kind of annoying. It's a bug
Kind of annoying.
Seen before.
That's real
super
annoying. That was annoying to even hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, little understated. But you can select other missions and sort of work around it. It's a bug I've seen before. I think it happens when they change stuff around, and there's something that pops up in the code that causes it. So they'll have to address that. But other than that, people have been returning to it, judging by the numbers. Whether that's sustainable or not will be interesting to see. I mean, the game has had a pretty loyal base the last, I want to say, 4 months, pretty consistent numbers. Ever since they sort of delved down and got reported that it was dying, which I felt was greatly overblown.
Yeah, it was.
But it'll be interesting to see what kind of numbers it can sustain going forward.
So
Especially looking toward October, where we'll see Liberty Day, which is likely to be a big event for them.
Something new. I asked people if they were playing. Jamel says no. Plague Soul says such a cool game. Haven't touched in a while. Too distracted by other games. Wouldn't mind jumping in. Thomas, haven't touched it. Nelson Rip says so many games out. I never even got to buy it. Jamal, got my pizza on the way to eat and enjoy the podcast.
Well, damn.
Here we go. We're gonna start
There
talking
we
about
go.
pizza. Captain Ply says, whenever I and my friends are home at the same time, we play Helldivers. Not in a week or so, though. Well, a week or so isn't too bad. I'm sure a lot of these companies absolutely love that. Dude, I don't know. I saw the stuff about them dying too. Whatever. Whatever. We're getting to the point now where if a company loses 8 people, they're all, this is the death. This is the death of said game. Yeah, it's just idiotic, man.
It's also a question of context for numbers, right? Because you saw the numbers that Helldivers had at the end, at launch rather. And then you see that they've lost 90% of the player base. That's dramatic. Like that, just as a number, that's dramatic. But when we take it into the context of what was the consistent player base of the first game? What was the player base they actually expected to see for the game? And then that's more in line with what we actually have now than what we saw at release.
I mean, to me, even if I love a
And
game,
I
I'm
mean,
not
20,000 concurrent players is still a decent chunk for an online game like Helldivers 2.
Yeah, but I mean, it just doesn't, dude. There's too many games out. It doesn't mean anything's dying. It quite literally just means more games are coming out. The farther away you get from it, and whether we like the idea of all these games stealing our time or not, that's pretty much how it works. It's not that surprising that a company who releases a title like this and has specific updates like they do, and some great ones, and a couple issues, it's just not that surprising that they lose players over time, and those players will go up when they release something big. I mean, it's the treating of this kind of stuff as if it's brand new and no one's ever heard of it before is weird. It's just odd. I'm gonna read a couple super chats here. We got one from A1 Nagel. He says, with fresh Nintendo Switch 2 leaks making their rounds, when do you think Switch 2 will be announced and released? Any features you hope to see? So if anybody didn't see this, there were some rumors that popped up in the last couple of days. It was initially started out by some people saying that they had heard a bunch of journalists were going to Nintendo headquarters to see something. And then there were some rumors and some pics from supposedly a mock-up at a manufacturing line, which that to me would mean it's farther along than, that to me would mean, that it's really is much closer than, let's say, just sent to see some preliminary hardware on a PC that is mimicking the Switch 2. Any features, though, that we hope to see on the Switch 2? I think we've talked this pretty much to death, because right now we're just talking into the void, right? We're just talking into the same exact thing that we've been talking into for months.
I think one big question mark is the dock.
True. I don't know why I said months. Sorry. Go ahead, Johnny.
No, I was just going to say the dock for me is a question mark if they choose to build something into it rather than just be a glorified, USB extender.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting. I don't know if it would be viable to do anything like, remember that thing you used to have where you plug the HDMI into it and it will do upscaling or sharpening or something? I forget exactly. That seemed to work fairly well for some people. I wonder if you could do something like that with the dock, where you put it in and you can give it a bit.
You
of
could,
extra.
but TVs are so far beyond that now. TV, I mean, even the last 5 years of TV, the AI
the
upscaling and
upscaling.
Yeah. What I would see on the dock wouldn't surprise me. So all the wireless handhelds at some point, all the handhelds at some point are starting to get their own docks, even if it's a year after its release, like Legion and all that stuff. They all start getting their docks. So I don't see Nintendo shying away from a dock, but I don't see the dock doing much more. It doesn't seem to make sense.
That's a good point. What you said, that the TV technology has so far, the TV technology itself, what you could do with a device.
Yeah. And in fact, one thing you wouldn't want to do is, let's say, plug the device into a TV and it upscales, then the TV upscales again. And then you're going to be like Void, who was complaining about one of his games looking like crap. And I'm like, what is your sharpness setting at? And he was at negative sharpness. And when he turned it back to 0, he's like, oh my God, it's like I got a graphics card upgrade. He's like, this is ridiculous. So you don't want to do the processing on stuff. I mean, of course you would want it to be native on the system, but let's be honest, this is a handheld. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, there's nothing the dock could do to make the system run better, right?
Other than cooling it and allowing an overclock. Yeah, but why do that when most display docks these days are, like you said, glorified USB extenders, plugins, LAN ports. Now USB 4 allows for you to plug 8,000 devices into a single. It's insanely powerful. I would hope they would focus solely on the handheld itself.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I think there is a difference. If you're plugged in, aren't the handhelds able to go faster? Like there's a unplugged mode where they kind of save battery more.
There's a wattage for any laptop run by Windows. You have power settings. You can go in and turn on a battery mode, and you can turn it down.
Gotcha.
But that's really been in Windows for you. It's really not anything particularly special.
I'm assuming that that would be the same with like most of the handhelds where
Yeah, all the
they-
Windows handhelds have it.
yeah,
Yeah, they have a certain wattage they can take in, and I mean, in the end, they don't see, dude. Some of them we've seen have insane wattage that they can take in when plugged in, and they don't really improve much because the APUs are right at the raggedy edge of seeing an improvement anyway. So with Nintendo, who knows what they're going to do? I would rather have them not concentrate on the dock. Let the dock do what it's supposed to do. Let the TV do whatever you want it to do. Some TVs are terrible, some are okay. And just focus on the delivery of a device that's going to be comfortable in your hands.
Mhm.
I don't know why all these companies think our fucking thumbs are in the middle of our palms, though. With these shitty, with the thumb on the right one so low that, you know, it's just uncomfortable. That's the only thing I would like to see Nintendo fix. I don't think they will.
The only thing I can think of, Carrick, is that it's comfortable for a certain type of person. Just that's
Yeah, a
just not me.
12-year-old. A 12-year-old with baby hands.
Just small hands. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, if you go look at some of these new handhelds coming out, some of them, I swear to God, they put the thumbstick on the absolute bottom, and you're all, how are you supposed to even?
Yeah,
like
if you look
it would be
the way
tilted.
my hand is, like my thumb is compressed into my hand so it can actually reach there.
Yeah, we'll just have to see how all that works.
Yeah.
Next up, Johnny has Plucky Squire on his list of things he wants to talk about.
So I played this today. You did a review.
Uh-huh.
This game has some amazing art. It's like immediately inspiring. You look at it and it's like a fantastic art style. And the idea of going from 2D to 3D is genius. We've seen it a few times, but that kind of like breaking the fourth wall is awesome. I love to see it. We saw it in Inscription. I won't say exactly how because it's a bit spoilery, you know. But you play that game and you start like playing a normal deck building game. And at some point you step away from the desk and you're like, whoa, I can move in the world. And then it does 3 or 4 more of those, like taking, you know, changing your perspective completely. I love that stuff, you know. And the difference is that with Inscription, I didn't expect it or I didn't really know about it. So it was a bigger shock. This one, I fully, you know, I was expecting it. So it's not like, but I love it. I think it comes well together, how they do it, because they mix the fantasy world of the book that the character comes from with the real world, which is kind of like Toy Story, right? Style.
Right.
And it's awesome how those integrate because you can bring things from the real world into the book. And, you know, that's really magical to see how that works. So, yeah. For what, $24, it's an amazing pickup for a game.
Yeah, not a bad price. It's really enjoyable. I was asked, what are you guys' favorite single-player game on the PS5? This is from Bants on Fire. Single-player game on the PS5.
Like all-time favorite?
Yeah, I mean, PS5's got, I'm trying to think of, you know,
some good ones.
It's got some good ones, but there are a lot of overlap with the PS4. I'm trying to think of what's specific to PS5.
Oh.
Ragnarok, right? Horizon.
Yeah, well, Ragnarok is on PC now, right?
Yeah, but we're talking.
but
I
it
mean,
is,
I'm assuming he means
console-wise,
console.
It is kind of an exclusive.
Then there's also Horizon, right? Horizon.
Yeah, Horizon
Forbidden
is awesome.
West.
There's Returnal.
There's Returnal, right? There's Spider. No, Spider-Man 2 is
Spider-Man
is right. Yeah.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2 is. And Demon Souls was really good.
Demon Souls,
the remake.
Yeah,
Very
true that.
solid.
True that.
But that one is multiplayer though. Basically, it's not really. You can sort of play it single player, but it is.
Oh, I
kind
played
of
full single player. I get what you mean. Yeah, there is some.
And even when the single player, you get the messages and whatnot from other people.
You get the messages,
the social aspects there.
Yeah.
Man, that's hard to even separate them because there's so much overlap on these consoles,
There's
and
also,
rightfully
Last
so.
of Us, the remakes and whatnot. I guess they count as well.
I guess for me, it'd probably be Ragnarok is just PS5, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that would
Ragnarok.
probably be mine.
Yeah, Ragnarok for if we're talking solidly PS5, I don't think it's on PS4 now, or maybe it got released later. I can't remember, man, because there's so much overlap on these, and like I said, rightfully so. You don't necessarily like not want some overlap because you want to keep people who don't have the money to buy your new system. But I think Ragnarok is, and I would definitely say of PlayStation's games, that's probably, yeah. But I'm probably missing a bunch. Returnal was great, though. Returnal was great. Like, Returnal is a fantastic game, but it's a very different style of title. And I don't enjoy Returnal in the same way as, there you go. I don't like enjoy Returnal like I enjoy Ragnarok.
Right.
Even though Returnal is fantastic and I enjoyed playing it, there's something about Ragnarok that, and the, you know, you're a god kind of thing, I guess. I don't know. Where in Returnal, you're just getting your butt scooped the entire time. So it's like,
yeah,
it's a different feel.
Yeah, totally different feel.
Let's see. Master Paz says, with Nintendo being so many years behind in tech, he expects a VR headset to be announced. That's a joke. Which of the game properties would you want to see in VR, though? That's an odd one. Which of Nintendo's games would I want to see in VR? Which of Nintendo's games would I want to see in VR? Which?
I think a Pokemon could be cool, right? If you're actually
Pokemon
like
Snap kind of thing.
Stuff.
Yeah, Pokemon. Right. Yeah, I mean Mario. In all honesty, man, if a Mario 64 was somehow done, I don't mind 3D platformers in VR because I like the ability to like look around things and sort of adjust and see around stuff. Nintendo and VR don't overlap too much for me, though.
No,
you know, cope with they tried with in 64 in VR.
If it looked like that, no. If it looked like a new game, maybe. But if it looked like Odyssey looked pretty good. But VR and Nintendo, man, they're such mascot oriented that I need to see the mascot for the most part, and that then puts like a weird thought process on a VR title. It's a good question, but that one's pretty hard.
Okay, I hadn't thought of that. You're saying because it's usually like from outside, so you see Donkey Kong or you see Mario,
Donkey Kong and I see Mario. Yeah. And I mean, it's just that's what they've sold themselves on.
Yeah.
Also, Nintendo's track record with virtual reality with the Virtual Boy, not exactly stellar.
Yeah.
Or the cardboard.
I mean, VR as a whole doesn't have the most stellar anymore. When you think about it, unfortunately.
True.
So let's talk a little bit about Dragon Age Veilguard. So the previews came out. This was an event that everybody got invited to. Man, I think it was like a while ago. I can't remember when I got this invite, but it was a while ago. The embargo was held off for a while and then announced as of yesterday/today for these showings of Veilguard. And we got to see a lot of sort of generic previews. The one that I, would suggest people go check out is Boomstick. He covers every class, but not only that, he also showed some stuff. Johnny's seen it too. I don't know if Silver's got a chance to see this, but there was a couple things I thought was really good.
Yeah, I did.
So normally what I saw originally in their viewing was pretty janky. Their display of the game, that looked janky. And I was like, ooh, I'm not 100% sure I'm into this. But Boomstick was showing something that I really liked, which is when you go in to choose an action, if that action is going to impact the current enemy in some way as a weakness, it will have an indicator, a barb, that indicates whatever choice you're making right now will do more damage. Also, if it's a combo move, it'll show you the other moves that it will align with as combos in the choice screen. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to like jumping in and out of the choice screen too much. But what he showed, for example, was like the magic user, which they took back to formula completely, man. I was stunned because the original magic user in Dragon Age Inquisition is literally the most boring character to play. It's just bump, 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 bump. You could change it up if you wanted, but it didn't really, there was no payoff for changing it up. This, you have an up-close weapon that does very specific things, as well as your range stuff, as well as defensive, like the ability to use your mana for a defensive globe around you, the ability to do AoE. he was in and out of combat, up close, far away. I was really impressed with what I saw of the mage, far more so than I expected to be. What about you guys? Did any of you guys see like anything that impressed you?
Yeah. Like I thought, like even going back to E3, I thought it looked reasonably fun, and that like the rogue class in particular might be something I would align with. And I think that held true for what Boomstick showed in his preview as well, where again, particularly like the dodging animation looks like an animation that I'll never get tired of. Like the dancing around. That looks really fun. Like I think it shows how much just an animation can do for just rewarding gameplay. Just the act of that dodging feeling fun. Because I felt that vicariously just by watching him play it.
Yeah.
So that's definitely looking promising to me.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of Mass Effect as well, with the companions abilities and stuff. I love that. I thought that was a really good compromise between micromanaging, but not becoming like actual micromanaging, you know, where you're controlling every move like in an RTS or something. I did like that. And yeah, the movement looks clean. I really enjoyed that. I think the mage is what I'm most excited about. The spells look fun, and the movement and everything. Yeah, there's a lot there to dig into.
I think with Dragon Age as well, like, I mean, regardless of the story or, well, okay, so BioWare not never, but in the Dragon Age games, they've been hit and miss on story. Sometimes really good, sometimes not. I don't know how this story is going to pay out, but one of the issues with Dragon Age Inquisition was there were parts of the story I liked, and then parts I didn't, where the combat was overall just not great. Where this one, even if, let's say, the story is okay, if the combat is enjoyable like that, well, then there's a lot to be said for sort of shoring up the story with some good combat in between. We've seen it with multiple games we've played where we're like, you know, this just isn't, you know, it maybe I like this character or their story sounds cool, but the combat, which is what you're going to be doing the majority of the time, even if you have a ton of cutscenes, it's going to be the majority of the time. What I saw looked actually fun, which I think it is not a good describer of Dragon Age Inquisition's combat. There were times where it was fun, but it never really paid off. I mean, every class he chose to be looked really enjoyable, and they all had what I would call like a trinity. So normally, I guess you could say one offensive, one defensive, one offensive, one defensive, one area of effect. That's sort of like the Holy Trinity kind of thing, where it's like we sort of know what they're going to offer. The way he was describing it and stuff he was showing certainly seemed like some of that was in play, but there were also things that didn't seem like there was an equal on the other class. And you guys know what I mean, where you get a class, you're like, I'm the healer, and this person's the fighter, but there's some kind of move that everybody can do that's like, it's almost like they mowed down uniqueness. They're all, whoa, 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 whoa. We don't want this guy to feel special. So we're going to make sure that whatever he can do is a little mowed down, or whatever he can do doesn't feel.
And in line with everybody else.
And in line with everybody else. And this is something that's been replicated in, like, let's say, D&D itself and D&D rules, where sometimes you're like, when you become too flexible at a time, there's this almost moment where things aren't flexible anymore. You're like, well, now
everybody can do everything.
Everybody can do everything, and you're like, exactly, everyone can do everything. So why does it matter? This looks like it's a little bit towards that step, but they pulled it back just enough so that there were unique things from every single class that they could do that might have a special moment for that person to shine, or that character to shine. That's important to me, is where the character gets to shine. You get to see the character do something. You're like, damn, that's cool. Was not expecting that. Graphically, it still looks, man, what do you guys call this game? I don't know how to describe it. I wouldn't say generic anymore, but I would say it looks like...
It looks a lot to me like an MMO aesthetic, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
it is definitely stylized.
I've seen from like a dozen, more like half a dozen fantasy MMOs.
like fantasy generic, like not fully generic, but generic enough that it overlaps in a, if you start drawing them, you're going to get some overlap there.
In an aesthetic sense,
I would say it's kind of like cleaned up in a way.
It is.
It's like
that's true.
It's very clean.
Cleaned up. It's very clean, but I like there's enough detail there that it's not the generic version of stylized.
Right.
It's what I would say like a good version of stylized, where it does have a distinct, direction.
Also, I was actually pretty impressed when I saw the city in the last trailer, and then some more of it here, where you're like, okay, that city actually looks. See, I'm okay with super, let's say, high fantasy. The really unadulterated magic is everywhere. In fact, I'm sort of want more of those because I'm so tired of this is the last magic user. You're like, fuck, I just want some magic in my world. But this might be a lot of magic. There were times where I was like, damn, they like got a magic sunrise, magic sunset, magic roofs,
and like the
magic chimneys.
Underwater.
Yeah.
That looked insane.
That
too.
looked insane. But there's something about the controls and stuff. It may just be Dragon Age that I'm thinking. It may just be that it looks at times with the icons and the diamonds and the rectangles that it just looks a little closer to Dragon Age than I expected. But with that purple sheen, that color that, there's a certain color, high fantasy color to it. There's just no way to get around from that. Go ahead.
I think what it really makes me think of, and it's not like a direct comparison because like directly they're not really that comparable, but I think it really gives me associations to World of Warcraft and that sort of, I don't know, cartoonish style, just in a lot cleaner and more elegant way than World of Warcraft did it. But it feels like from the same well, I guess, to me, a bit.
You know what it could, that's a good point. You know what it could be? Like World of Warcraft next. Like if World of Warcraft had gone and upgraded their graphics to be at least somewhat current, maybe this is what it would look like, where it's still got that sort of caricature for every character. It's not really it's not like detailed as much as it is. There's more detail, but the detail isn't going to making them look really unique other than like a character with a hat that's too small for their head. You do get some of that oddity there where you're just like, these designs are, it's definitely got to look, man. It's definitely got to look like it's hard to get around that part. But what I saw in the combat, it definitely improved from what I expected. And I'm really actually happy I didn't go because the more I see of it, the more I'm like, okay, this might be a fun game to be surprised by. Right. And I have a feeling if maybe I played it a bunch, I might be like, okay, I already sort of know where this is going. I'm actually sort of excited to just go into this, whether it be on a review or just as a normal person, to just go in and be like, all right, start to finish, what do I think? Yeah, what do I think of this? But the combat looks awesome, which I think is a big bonus. I saw the arrow moves, and I will say, I don't know if you guys have ever played Neverwinter Online, but I've spent about 2,200 hours in it. A lot of the spells and abilities have an overlap. Obviously, it would only make sense that they do. And some of the spells that they were pulling off, I'm not going to say look cribbed from. That's completely unfair. But there were some that I was like, ooh, that's really close to. And I guess that's where you get with fantasy, right? A fireball can only be replicated a certain number of times before you realize it is a ball on fire that is hitting people. Like, there's only so many things you can do to change that appearance. So I'm fine with that. Performance looked really good, too.
And it's funny to me in that context that you mentioned how boring you found the mage in Inquisition, because I actually found, and I think, again, that ties back into the point about the importance of animations. I found that the detail that went into with the mage's animations of just slinging stuff with the staff actually made the sort of the passive act of just doing that kind of feel rewarding.
I did it first, but not after.
No, I understand.
Because I liked how he spun. He'd go like 1, 2, spin, 3, 4. I liked all that.
It can get old,
Yeah. It's and that happens in other games too. I mean, we see it. Like, I mean, a lot of other games have the same 1, 2, 3. The fourth move is a different one, but after a while, you're like, well, 1, 2, 3 are all the same. So yeah. Performance-wise, I was actually impressed. I asked people what they thought in here. Art style looks cool. Graphically, not impressed, but that's probably YouTube compression. So let me point something out about YouTube compression. YouTube compression has become a crux, an absolute absolute, I guess you would call it devil in the details, where people a lot of times will be like, oh my God, this game doesn't look good. It's gotta be YouTube compression. 99% of the time it's not YouTube compression. YouTube compression is a big deal when they upload like IGN does, which is like 6 kilobits of bit rate. I don't know why they upload their bit rate is shit. It's for a company like them, it should be absolute 4K, ridiculous amounts of bit rate, which is something I can do, Johnny can do. So if podunks like me and Johnny can do it, they should be able to. They can't technically get their eyes around it. I don't know why. But the YouTube compression discussion, it certainly can be an issue if you blow it up to your 4K screen, you're looking for detail. But if you're looking for the general look of a game, dude, unless my eyes are better than everybody else's, which I don't see how that's humanly possible, I can still get an idea of what something looks like even at 480p, let alone 1080p, let alone 4K. I think YouTube compression has become a shadow squinters, pixel peepers like thing, and you shouldn't worry so much about it. I mean, I get, but it does depend on the upload. I'm not talking about IGN shit, because their shit is shit. Like, I don't know why they upload at such terrible bit rate. What is your bit rate when you upload, Johnny? Not including what we've discussed on our own, but like if you uploaded in the past, what would be your bit rate? You're muted.
Sorry. I do like 80,000 kilobits per second.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Do you know what some of those videos have been? 5.
Dude, yeah, and this you see it a lot with people doing previews and saying it looked great to me, but hey, if it doesn't look good to you, it's probably YouTube encryption or
Compression.
encoding, compression, and yeah, there's it can be, but like you say, there are ways to get a really good result, and we see Digital Foundry. They show us some really in detail stuff, and you can still see a lot of it. So
yeah. And that's not saying anything bad about whoever brought it up. You're absolutely right that sometimes it can be a thing, but just be aware that it's not as big of a thing as the world would have you believe, especially if they're defending a game or attacking a game. Yeah, Dragon Age, man. I mean, I don't know. It's releasing at a pretty contested time. A lot of games coming out.
What is the date? Do we have like a fixed date already?
It is Veilguard release date. October 31st.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's
so you said contested. What else is around that?
Oh, dude, go look. I'm not going to list all the games. There are games in November. There's games at the end of October. It's definitely a time when they're going to have like a week or maybe 4 days to themselves. And then that's not including the tons of smaller games, the tons of like, or AA or maybe indie or what have you that might jump up at that time. And we've seen these companies moving off and delaying, which has been quite intelligent. But yeah, it's just even, let's just say anything after Monday of next week is contested. We'll just say that. We'll just say it's that busy this year. It's really rough. Matter of fact, we all talked about this in our chat. Remember, we were in there talking about like the idea of releasing right now is pretty scary for these companies. A lot coming out. Jay Richardson says Game of the Year comes out November 12th. I don't know which one he's talking about. Stalker. Could be Stalker. I can't remember the release dates. Avowed? No, Avowed got moved to February, right? Yeah. There we go. There's one that got moved. What else for Dragon Age? I think that's about it, right? Dragon Age, we got to see the previews. I'm really happy that we did.
I'm a lot more excited now after seeing some of this gameplay, I think. Because I don't know about you guys, the multi-choice, so, the idea that you can respond to a conversation in a way and the plot plays out differently, is not that big of a deal for me. I enjoy it. It can be amazing.
I wanted to let you finish that, but thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
For me, I like we've talked about it a lot in the past, so I won't waste people's time, but like I really value having my one well fleshed out journey in a game rather than many like playthroughs,
Slightly
where,
altered
like,
playthroughs.
you know, that I do quickly and I just try different stuff. So a lot of times, yeah, I don't get to see the other dialogue options, and I'm fine with that. So if the game doesn't have 3 branching options at every turn, I'm totally cool with it, personally.
Yeah, there's some oddities in this game too. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's like it's got a bit of a telltale, this character will remember this kind of thing. And sometimes I don't need to know that, and I hope that's turn offerable. Like I don't need to be warned all the time that something's going to be remembered, because to me the narrative should speak to that. The narrative I'm choosing. If, like, for example, we're at the end of the line, guys. Somebody's going to die here. One of us has to stay behind. This is in the Dragon Age showcase. And they're like, somebody has to stay behind. And when you get to choose, it's like, so-and-so will remember this. Now, here's the weird thing that bothers me. Does that indicate that person will live? Because if they'll remember it, then why am I worried about leaving them behind to fight as we escape? There's some oddities that can creep up, and admittedly, I do think of those things, and I know a lot of people don't, but the moment it says so-and-so will remember this, I'm like, how? What the if you just told
in Telltale's games where they and to be fair to Telltale, they did go on to sometimes kill those characters.
They did.
They were in like only one scene, and then you had they will remember this, and then they die immediately. So
I just don't need that they will remember this. I want the writing and that dialogue. I want to choose it, and I'll know via that. I'll know via that.
That's a much more powerful experience than being told. You know, they have this thing in cinema and shows, the show not tell or something, where like they show you
organic storytelling. Yeah,
they show you instead of telling you. So you telling me that this person will remember it is one thing, and I guess it's good to know that my decisions matter, right? That's the point. But figuring out that my decisions matter through experience itself is much more impactful. Because if I find out way down the line that this guy mentions, you know, the thing that came up in this conversation or whatever, that to me will stick. Whereas, you know, just them stating doesn't really.
Can I also point out something that really bothers me? If they remind me on the big things that they're going to remember, then I'm going to think that the shit that's small, they're not going to remember. So if I cut them with 1,000 razor blade cuts with shit decisions, and then the big bad one is the one where I go with them, I'm still a dick character, and I still want them to treat me like that. And if it says so-and-so will remember this, but the others, they don't, and then I start to feel like they are remember it, then I'm going to be like, well, you're lying to me that they don't remember the small stuff. Just like ignore that shit.
Overthinking.
Yeah. You're not overthinking. They're overtelling. There's no overthinking. It, like, if they give you the data, how can you? I don't feel like you can really overthink it. If they're telling you all the time on the big things that matter, you're going to be like, well, so-and-so won't give a shit. I played Telltale.
No, what I'm saying is, I think you're giving them maybe too much credit. You're saying that this information is accurate, that they will remember this and not that. What I think is happening is that they will remember some of it, and a lot of stuff they won't, and some things they say won't be remembered or don't state will, maybe.
So what you think is me giving them the benefit of the doubt is me actually dissing on them completely as bad storytellers.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess we agree, but on my description is that's a terrible way to do things. On your and you're thinking like, hey, he's giving some kudos because, or not kudos, but expecting less. No, I'm just saying they're straight up telling you something that's incorrect. I'd just rather have them not tell me, and I assume that you'll be able to turn it off. My only opinion is that it would make sense to turn it off. Continue talking. I'm listening. I'm gonna let my dogs
I can't help
out.
but think that approach is in part inspired by just the reactionary nature of how media is driven these days, and in particular, just because I remember so many times in these like role-playing games where people have been angry because some reaction has occurred down the line from a dialogue choice or whatever they made that wasn't clear to them at the time they made that dialogue choice that it would have consequences. and then having those consequences down the line is something that made them very upset, and to the point of making social media threats and whatnot about it, being very angry.
Wow. That's
So certainly, I think it's in part maybe a decision to try and meet some of that.
so hold on. So you made a bad decision in a video game that
Yeah.
turned out to impact the narrative in a way you
Yes.
didn't like.
Yes.
And so you went on, I don't say you, Silver, I mean like this,
Yeah, these people who
yeah,
who
these people went on to like threaten.
who argue it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
That's why
crazy.
we need to not give those people power, man. And I know that sounds ridiculous and it's not realistic, but we have to figure out a way to do it. You have to figure out a way that the crimey and just the Crimea River pieces of shit on social media don't control everything. And including me, by the way, in you, anybody. If you're there and you're bitching about it and they're like, this is solidly the way we want to go, whatever, that's fine. But when somebody says my decision that was absolute shit in the game turned out to be absolute shit in the game, how dare you? I
Where
mean,
are we? What's going on, man?
Yeah. Yeah, where are we? Right? And it sucks because Silver's absolutely right that it can quite easily turn into somebody going to a goddamn website and filling out a petition.
Yeah. And I love that, by the way. I've had it like in Baldur's Gate 3. I made a terrible decision and it turned out that an entire village died, by the way, because of it.
So good.
Down the line. Yeah. It would, and I felt like,
and I made the same
made
great
sense.
decision you did, and they all died, and it was amazing.
I mean, it made sense, like,
I mean,
yeah, I screwed up.
One of the most controversial ones, I don't remember the specifics, but I remember people being very angry about instances where party members can leave because
Are we talking Baldur's Gate 3, bud?
No, I don't think specifically Baldur's Gate 3. I think
okay, but a game.
I actually think Owlcat, like Wrath of the Righteous, had some of that where, because of dialogue choices you made sometimes, characters might leave like 6 hours later. And that was something that a lot of people got angry about. Or not a lot of people, some very... I'm vague on how many people, but very vocal people.
Yeah, it got augmented. Completely fair for you to bring up.
We're very angry about. Yeah.
I'm excited for it, man. I
got annoyed by it personally because I didn't feel it was properly sort of contextualized that this would be a possible consequence, but I also sort of went, okay. I mean, kind of cool, I guess, that it has consequences. I just wish it was sort of contextualized and explained a little better than how they executed it. But
it would have been nice to have a little stair step of the situation getting worse, so maybe you could repair it. A little bit of data here and there where you're like...
I mean, especially because like every dialogue I had with that character since like that sort of schism part went really well, and I passed.
Right.
So when they eventually like broke away, it felt really jarring to me in a way that sort of disconnected me.
You know what's weird, dude? Silver, we were talking about friendships. This was about a month ago. I can't remember even where. It was either on the podcast and we were talking about the weird friendships I've had, and a lot of people have had, where something occurs and you don't know something's wrong and somebody just leaves. They'll leave the friend group. Like they're gone. And you're sitting there going, why is this person not? And then, matter of fact, it was a person telling me that they had this experience, and it very much devastated them because they could not even get a hold of the person. They were like ghosted, is the new term, Caspered, whatever. There's about 55, I see dead people. But in the end, that guy was gone. And that does occasionally happen. And I would be okay with that occasionally happening in a game where you're like, damn, shit just went bad. But I think games, the stair step of understanding what's going on. And we saw this go terribly in Starfield, where in Starfield, they're like, I love you. Why did you shoot that? Right. And you're like, whoa, bipolar, man. And I just like I like this, man. Yeah. I like the stair steps, good writing. I think that there's many people that are really good at writing those kind of stair step relationships, including Chris Avellone. He's very good at delivering those and sort of understanding the stair step of relationships. You got to see it a little bit in Jade Empire. a BioWare game. I think that they did a fairly good job. But in games that aren't decision-based, where it was done well, this is going to sound really weird, but I want to describe it. I actually think Bully did well. So you start out with that kid who turns out to be the bad guy in Bully. But it's like you're given so many understanding moments. Gary. We all have a Gary. Or we were one. But you see these stair-step moments continually. And, you know, if you were ever told this advice when you're a kid, that if a person talks bad to you about somebody else, they will talk bad to somebody else about you. And Gary shows up in that framework so many times. And I love that, because by the time it all goes bad, yeah, to him it is probably a surprise. But to us as the gamer, you're like, that was inevitable. You know, at some point you pick up on it. I like that kind of stuff in games.
You mentioning Bully made me remember, you know, I think, was it the previous podcast we talked about most obnoxious video game character of all time? But where I couldn't help but think of Sheldon in that game.
Sheldon.
Who's the little kid who always goes, "I'm going to tell on you."
Oh, I'm going to tell on you. Okay, yeah. With these guys, you know, I'll just say this to end up, and we'll go to like a pirate. But I think they've done a really good job in what they've shown. I think that we'll just have to see. There's other stuff that is for sure going to bother people, that is outside of the realm of the gameplay. But from what I saw, the gameplay, that is one place that it seems to have been shored up. And I'm not playing it, and until I play it, I can't say if it's good or not. But I will say its presentation was a good deal better with these previews. Well, in particular, one or two previews. Most of them were pretty generic previews, but that one was phenomenal. So once again, just to shout them out, Boomstick Gaming on YouTube, phenomenal breakdown of the combat in that game. And I suggest you watch it if you get a chance, and throw some love his way. That was just a phenomenal job in covering the game. Moving on from there, Like a Dragon Pirate. Okay, what's it really called?
It's a pirate in Hawaii.
Wow, man, that's disappointing. That is disappointing. But it's coming sooner than everybody thought. It's coming to the first 2 months of next year. It's going to have you running around, sort of like Infinite Wealth, I guess, but fighting off pirates. In Yakuza, they've done a really good job with the merging of modern and piratey kind of thing, where it's like some of it reminds you of, let's say, Somali pirates and current modern-day pirates, but then they've still got the patches and the hats and all of the jokes that that pirates bring. I thought it looked pretty good. It was one of those, the one that I saw was the video with the people standing on stage. I don't know if you guys got to see that one, but it was like each person was talking a little bit about the game. That's a little difficult to like parse how good it will be or what type of gameplay there will be. But what I saw looked really interesting, and I can tell you guys, I never expected a pirate Yakuza. So that's
especially in Hawaii.
Especially, yeah, right, yeah. So you know,
I mean, the alternative maybe would have been Corsair and Bel Air or something, but
I mean, even Hawaii, I think the thing that might work with Hawaii is there's a comedic spirit that Yakuza has that I think fits. Like, I think it fits Hawaii.
Yeah, maybe.
You know,
probably wouldn't have fit something like an actual serious pirate setting, like the like Indonesia.
If
like
you went, or you get, you know, African coast or something where you're like, okay, this is way too close to, you know, this can't be fun anymore because it's too serious. This looked good, man. I mean, you know, it looked good for a Yakuza game. The graphics certainly looked the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, but what I saw looked fun. I don't know. J Reaper, $5. I'm stressed at the fact that AC Shadows comes out November 15th and Stalker comes out on the 20th. Great podcast, guys. Thanks for the super chat. They do always help the channel. I appreciate it. Those are close.
Well, you don't have to stress. You don't have to play them both at the same time. You can play one and then play the other.
No, but I'm sure, I know Jay, he's like me, wants to be on the Zeitgeist conversation.
Yeah.
And that's close. Like AC Shadows, November 15th and Stalker out on the 20th. Man,
yeah, 5 days to complete Shadows doesn't seem like a lot, you know.
Yeah, solid 5 days. Solid 5 days. You're good. Solid 5 days. You'll be done with Shadows. If Shadows is anything like, let's say, a mix of Origins and Valhalla, or Origins and Odyssey or all three of those. It seems like it's going to do well regardless of all the hubbub about it. There was a ton of hubbub about Valhalla as well, and in some different ways, obviously. But I just have a feeling that game will be around for a long time. And it probably will be one that, you can revisit if you want. Stalker, on the other hand, Stalker might be... Let me explain this so nobody thinks I'm dissing on Stalker. Stalker's been delayed multiple times, and they've been very open about their technical issues, very open about trying to get it up and running. These last previews were very good, much more performant. But I think Stalker's the one I would worry about being delivered with the requirement for a patch or two, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure.
Assassin's Creed usually need a patch or two, but they usually run. And Stalker is one of those ones that, because of the delays and the movement, I'm a little bit more tentative on its
technical aspects.
Yeah. And it's trying to do a lot. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but that game looks fucking good.
It does.
Yeah. And you know what fucking good means to me? Right at the raggedy edge of not running well. Like, that's the moment somebody says that game looks really good on current, you're like, all right, I know what that means. That actually
like
means
Alan Wake 2 for me. Like, looked insane, could barely run it.
Right at the raggedy edge. Strevin $20 super chat from Strevin. He says, Boomstick has great video showing gameplay mechanics. Love his stuff. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it as always. And yeah, you're right. I don't usually watch those because I want to discover them myself, but in this one, for whatever reason, it worked for me.
I've always liked Boomstick's stuff generally.
Yeah.
I thought it's been on the better
side of previews and stuff. I would agree, because there's been a couple times where he broke down another one, and again, because I'm a reviewer, I can't go at it in the same way. I need to sort of like discover those myself as a gamer. But the ones I have seen and watched his, they were always on the edge of being more detailed and more like, not just, hey, it's a preview, let me walk you through the same stuff. And to me, that's noteworthy. And honestly, pretty noteworthy late. Like, that should have been done a long time ago. And he's one of the few who, a lot of people just don't do it. But a lot of people have difficulty breaking down a game because you don't know what's going on. I don't know about you guys, but even, let's say, a Baldur's Gate, there's so much to break. Baldur's Gate's not fair. Let's say, like, even a God of War. Trying to break down what's happening when you pull a move off while the game is going on is pretty difficult, especially when you go to an event and you got PR guy number 1 breathing down your neck and PR guy number 2 asking you if you want to interview a dev who has nothing to do with the game, but they just want you to do it to get more juice. And you're like, dude,
and you have the stress of, you have 2 hours or whatever with right now.
Yeah. It takes an attention to detail that's pretty fine. And he was showing I think it was him who responded to me on Twitter when I shouted him out. I think he showed me he showed me the premiere, the footage, and all the edits, and I was like, damn, yeah, that looks like a review. The amount of cuts and footage that you're trying to show. Zoom in, a lot going on there. Eurospace or Eurobus. Dude, I don't know that name. I'm going to mispronounce it every time. So I'm going to say Air says AC Shadows might not be for everybody. Correct. No game is. No game will be for everybody.
Tetris.
Yeah.
Columns versus Tetris, though. Come on. I gotta go columns.
With each other.
I gotta go columns. I know, but if you said we have some time to play, I still think I always go towards columns, and I could never explain to you why. I think it's because it's easier. It's just colors, and it's not the shapes. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's just me saying I'm not good with colors and shapes. I don't know. Poker Smash is also phenomenal if you like these kind of games. What are other games in that? We have Poker Smash, you have columns, you have Tetris. Are there any others that are in the drop things? You have what's the fireworks
Dr. Mario,
game? Dr. Mario. You got the fireworks one, where you timed your moves to the fireworks. It was a 360 game, and they had classical music. Oh, that game was Boom Boom Rocket. Boom Boom Rocket was also one. That game was phenomenal. Sorry, I'm losing my voice, man. I've done 6 reviews in the last 4 days, and I just realized I'm starting to sound
And
raw.
sadly, it's not going to get much lighter. Yeah.
No, it's going to get. Matter of fact, I turned one down today. I was like, I think I'm going to need a day.
Yeah.
Oh, if you haven't seen the reviews for me, what did I do? Make sure I don't mess up here and save ones I am doing. What did I do? I did Plucky Squire,
Frostpunk 2,
Frostpunk 2, and
Dead Rising.
Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, which was a little disappointing. Yeah. Yeah, Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster was good, but I didn't get caught up in the whole... Dude, it got remade in 2016. Okay, that's a while ago. Admittedly, that's, you're looking at like 8 years. But there was something about it that it was... It would be like, imagine you got a PC that was new, but it was missing RAM, and it was at 16 still. That's the way Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster felt to me. It felt to me that they adjusted some stuff, but they leave you noticing the gap even more so than if they hadn't. So you've got all these improvements, and then where there are some improvements that should absolutely have been made in the gameplay were not made. And so then you're stuck there going, like, just noticing the gap more than anything. Plucky Squire, amazing. Frostpunk 2, really good, but man, that performance was fucking woeful, man. Woeful. Damn. Damn. Dude, for a game that's not doing very much, and I don't know if they patched it, because admittedly I jumped to other games right away, and that's why I did a review in progress, because I was like, I gotta wait. I gotta check this thing out and see like where it's going, because this performance is fucking horrendous. But, and the other reviews I saw, no one mentioned performance. So I was like, oh, great. I'm going to appear like I hate the game. I don't hate the game. I liked it. It's that performance was just ruinous, man. I mean, that game, it didn't only require DLSS, Johnny. It required like, DLSS and frame gen. Like if you wanted to do 4K, if you want to turn it down, you could still get it. And I honestly thought it looked pretty good at low settings, but it was definitely one of those games where I was sitting there going, man, if somebody has a middling system, they might run into a game that just ain't gonna do shit,
It almost felt like if you zoomed in, it would be like, The Last of Us level detail.
Yeah.
But you're just zoomed out, but it's almost like you're still paying the cost of them doing all those like super expensive.
Great game, looks gorgeous though.
It looks good. Dude.
And it was so
I noticed
great.
The menus too, man. They're clean, like they're aesthetic.
There's a lot to track though. I don't know. Silver, are you getting Frostpunk 2?
No, I don't expect.
Oh, don't expect to. For some reason, too many games. Okay, I was gonna say for some reason I expected that, but there are. it's coming at a busy time.
I mean, it's not a lack of interest in the game. I enjoy strategy games and management games on occasion, but not with the current sort of situation.
Era says cries at 16 gigs of RAM. Hey, 16 is fine. I was just trying to give a good comparison of like a person who gets a brand new system. 16 would be considerably lower than a lot of the other components. I will say with Frostpunk 2, it is great though, man, because you can do everything bad and everything good, and your choices will not be the same as everybody else's, which is the big bonus from Frostpunk 2 versus 1, where I felt that there would be they even randomized the factions you'll get when you do it's called Utopia mode. But what's weird is it's called Utopia mode, but you can make it hard as balls. Like Utopia is a weird term for this mode, because the moment I jumped in, I'm like, well, it's still Frostpunk. What does Frostpunk and Utopia have in common? Nothing. Other than you're never going to get to it. Ain't nobody happy.
Failed attempt at building Utopia.
Yeah. Oh, and dude, they complain about everything, man. I'm like, dude, so 150 people out of 2,000 froze. Come on, quit complaining. No, I'm just joking. But it's great. You can do some hilarious things.
A little frostbite among friends.
Yeah, dude, exactly. I do love that the machine guy will come out and on the Vox, on like the recorder, he'll be like, tonight at 7 p.m. there will be an amputation report. You just go to the hospital. We will amputate you. Like, they talk about the terrible things that happened to the group. I really thought it added to the atmosphere of like crap going bad. But it's also a game where you can have it perfectly set up and be done in 15 minutes, as in Dead. I had a perfect setup. Everything running good. Way more food than I needed. Way more coal than I needed. And then a blizzard happened prior to winter. So the blizzard it kills everything. It's like you can't explore anymore. It sucks your heating. It feels like it quadrupled or tripled the requirement for heating. So by the time I went into winter, I was done. I looked at so let's say you need 300, let's say you need 1,000 for your generator. When winter comes, when the blizzard comes, it feels like it's instantly 3,000. And because it's a blizzard, it stops you from doing a ton of stuff. So you're just sitting there watching those numbers going, man, I hope this blizzard goes away. I hope this blizzard goes away. I hope this blizzard goes away. And then right when it went away, it was like, winter has come. All heating will require more. And you're just like, oh, I had it perfectly set up too. And there's some, ways you can sort of get through the winter. But by that point, all the factions hate you, because everybody's dead. Everybody's dying. And you're just stuck watching. And it's doom scroll. You know how the doom scroll of Twitter?
Yeah.
This is just like 900 people died, 50 people died, 89, and it just keeps scrolling up as people are dying every day, and you're like, oh my God, would you just shut up? Like, I get it. And then you're dead. Still enjoyable, though. It's definitely something that I would suggest people get if they have a strong computer or want to wait a little bit. Steam says too much like real winter in Iowa. Are you getting it, Johnny? Frostpunk?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm just trying to juggle things because I've been enjoying Space Marine and I haven't decided yet, when I'm going to stop with it. So, for example, I skipped Outlaws, even though I wanted to play that because I've been enjoying Space Marine more. And, so I'm kind of feeling it out. I'm also waiting, hopefully, for some patches, hear back from the performance.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Hal says, why can't you make fuel out of the bodies? Oh, you can't. The problem is you have to get to that point. And if you can't get to that point, then you can't. And
what's funny with those
tech tree
games
is amazing, by the way. Go ahead.
The moment stuff starts going badly is when that's the moment they pick to rebel. Because guess what?
Yeah.
They're happy when things are going great and they love you. But they don't love you when stuff starts going wrong.
Yeah, that's why you have the bread and games.
Yeah. So here's the weird question that I posed to you, Johnny, because that's a good point. So, and this happens with companies. So let's say a company's having a bad couple months, and they're like, "We're firing the CEO. We're firing the one person who has all of the experience." The same thing happens in this game, where you get deep winter, and people are like, "We're going to get rid of this guy," and you're all, "Dude, seriously? Like."
Who are you getting that could
who
even
are you getting that
do this job?
Yeah, like you guys are in deep shit. Who are you getting already? And you get, usually you'll get out of winter and they'll be like, okay, you have a certain amount of time to repair whatever relationships. But when everybody's relationship is bad, there's not much, there's some things you can do. You can pay them money, but if you've spent the money already because you've been trying to get people through the winter, that's what it's trying to do. It's trying to tell you that no choice is without pain.
Right.
In that game,
it's all trade-offs. Yeah, it makes sense.
Dare I say the Dark Soul? I'm not gonna. It's not the Dark Souls.
Dark
it's City
Souls
Managers.
Of colony management.
Yeah, it's good. I asked people in chat how many games they get out of a year. Let's see. Jamel says I get at least 10 to 12, plus or minus. Oh no, he says plus some indies. Tembo says new games 3 to 4, used 10 to 20. Oh, used. Awesome. That's cool. I think used is a good space to be.
You don't see that a lot nowadays, but that was a good way to get games.
Yeah, it's definitely good. Era again says, "Oh man, reminds me of Frostpunk 1. I couldn't satisfy the crowd. I always get thrown out and banished." Yeah.
Absolutely.
Trust me, it'll happen here. Kel says, "Usually it's a number of games I'm really interested in multiplied by Steam sales." Oh, I see. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I think used is a good place. Humble Bundle can be, but I think that's a collector's edition. It's sort of gone the way of, like, let's say Kickstarter rewards, where now, it says you can get all these games for a certain amount. And by the time you get in, they're putting the better games at the higher amount. By the time you're done, you really haven't saved anything. In fact, you probably overspent for the 2 games you do necessarily want.
Dude, it's like the Amazon sales where... Sure, you saved 30% on that air fryer, but guess what? You weren't buying an air fryer to begin with.
Yeah,
and now
you've got
did.
an air fryer.
Yeah,
you're literally got an air fryer next to you, and you're like,
right?
It's 30% off, man. Maybe. Jay Reaper says, last year it says I started 47 games, but all of them were definitely not new. Aries says, I don't count the amount of games I buy, but it's a lot. Yeah, I don't think I count either because there's a mix of review and normal games. But, I mean, 47's a lot. I don't. Jay said he didn't buy them all. They're
there
definitely
must be
not
a lot
all
of
new,
them, like smaller titles that you can get through quicker.
Hal says, just got Spider-Man 2 code on eBay for 20. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, hey, that's the way. Spider-Man 2, I loved. You know, it had some issues, but I enjoyed the hell. I think those are good superhero games. I'm really happy to see superhero games nailing it. Now, if they did a Punisher, they'd be my favorite developer in the world. They're not gonna. Next up, let's talk about. We got the buff patch out of the way. Let's talk a little bit about Digital Foundry's recent coverage of the ports that have come out from Sony, because I think this is sort of indicating. Again, this is not a combo breaker. I think Sony's ports are generally sound now. But Final Fantasy 16 in particular is pretty rough. That is a heavily GPU reliant
Last
game.
of Us Part 1.
So yeah, true. They did a rundown of this, a really good rundown, where they covered everything in Final Fantasy 16, including a lot of weird oddities in the FPS, a lot of heavy requirements for stuff. This is a non-ray traced game that it was dropping to 30s on a 4090. You're just like,
wow,
damn, not all the time. They had, and they had these weird drops not in combat where they're still trying to figure it out. I think in the end they said basically this is a title that is probably best you wait for another patch to sort of see where this is going. But a really heavy on the CPU and GPU in particular, in this one more so GPU. And I don't know, are you guys getting Final Fantasy 16 on PC?
No.
Either one of you? No. Okay.
no,
Yeah, I don't want to play it again. I like the game, but it's a one-off for
exactly.
me. Solid one-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny how some games, when I finish them, my reaction is, I'm done with this title.
Mm-hmm.
But in a good way. I had a good run. I don't want to play it again, probably ever. And that's fine for me. That's like a positive outcome. But I see a lot of times people have like the impulse of like, oh, I want to play it again, or oh, I want more DLC. Is it, do you guys feel the same way? Like when you finish one of those games, are you looking forward to more DLC, to like a second playthrough later and stuff like that?
That's a...
Because I finished Yakuza, and my thought was not...
Which Yakuza, please? Because it does matter.
Infinite Wealth.
Okay.
Very long game.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it a lot, but my thought was not, I can't wait for the next Yakuza. It was, I need 2 years break before the next one.
Right.
Because it was a lot of Yakuza.
Right.
You know? So...
I don't know,
a lot of
Silver,
times-
do you like... I mean, so Silver and I and you are all playing Space Marine. I guess the question would be, why after... Space Marine's a different subject.
Yeah, because that one has the
but...
multiplayer, right? A bit like longer lasting because of it.
So, okay, so let's restrict it to single player. Is there a single player then game, Silver, that you played where you immediately want to play it again? That you remember?
Sometimes, I mean, if it's very story heavy game and the story varies on playthroughs, sometimes, yeah. But other than that, I mean, I get the urge to replay the games all the time, but usually not the moment I've completed a game.
Yeah.
It might be a couple of months, it might be a year or whatever. Like I am seriously considering getting God of War on PC, depending on performance and whatnot. Potentially I could maybe do that. But I mean, it's not something I think about the moment I complete a game. No.
It's so funny too, because guys, I'm not saying we're a part of the minority, but the number of people I know who will play a single player game like Devil May Cry, and they're not even choosing different combos to go with, but they're just replaying it after is like, now, people look at me that way for TV shows. So I can't like look at them and be like, oh, I'm so shocked you've chosen to do that. But it is something that I'm hearing a lot where somebody's like, matter of fact, I was asking about one of these games, I think, in our Discord, and somebody said, I'm just going to replay blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what? What do you mean? Go ahead.
No, it's also funny when you think about that's what we did as kids. You
Absolutely
and I,
what we did.
Because
yes,
you
we
only
did.
had that one
You only had that one game.
For for months, and then you had to replay like Super Mario Brothers over and over and over and over, whatever it was.
Space Harrier, Super Mario Brothers, Sonic. I would start those right away, over and over. Yeah, yeah. So I guess there's a financial component that's in there that we don't discuss as much when this pops up because I'm usually so shocked by it. But yeah, you are right. Dude, getting a game when you're financially strapped at any age definitely, you know, as long as it was good, definitely has the chance of like popping me back. There's been times where I've been really financially strapped, even as a YouTuber, and I'm like, maybe I'll just replay. I mean, I beat Space Marine 3 times. Space Marine 2. I beat the campaign 3 times. I mean, that's the same campaign. So obviously, I have no issue returning to some games, even their single player component. Yeah. I was asking people some of the same questions on what's their favorite one-off. Aries says, I'm done with Final Fantasy 16. Tembo says Witcher 3. Hal says, he's talking about different. Bands on Fire says fave one-off was Red Dead Redemption 2. That's a game that, yeah, that's a one-off for me overall. Flexing Mecha, Spider-Man 2. SBC says God of War Ragnarok. I don't even bother with the DLC. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Aries says Infinite Wealth
2 is a game I've probably completed like 3 times in total.
Which one?
With one of those, Red Dead 2. With one of those being a 100% playthrough.
Nice.
I think that makes sense because it is a bit of a sandbox if you want to play it that way. You don't have to, but
yeah.
There's a lot of stuff you can do. Aries says Infinite Wealth was a lot of Yakuza, almost too much, and I really liked it. Yeah, I mean, Infinite Wealth also came out right after Man Who Forgot His Name, or Man Who Lost His Name, or Man Who Lost His Title.
Yeah, and I played those in quick
succession.
So I was like, okay,
but
I'm
Man
good
Who Forgot His Name or whatever, that one was shorter, which I think was a big was a boon to that. It had like some stuff to the side, but you could mainline that. You know, it was a little bit more of a mainliner versus Infinite Wealth, which was like, here's an island, see you in 40 hours. And you're like, damn.
Yeah, it literally.
Ravno says, too many games to be playing the same one over and over. Also, Silver's correct. Back then, games were 2 to 3 hours long, and they were made with live, so playing over and over was different. Man, not the games I played. They were not 2 hours long.
No,
see, I guess for me...
They were if you didn't die.
I died then.
But, yeah.
I mean, Strider... Even when I was good, I don't feel was 2 hours long. I feel like a lot of the games I remember, they might have been shorter, but not 2 hours. I mean, a lot of the games I was buying,
of them were. I mean, if you just do a full like playthrough of one of them in a video, that's just one way.
It might just have not been the games I was playing
around there.
You know what? I might have also been looking at playtime at the time when I was buying them. I may have. I mean, I love my Space Harrier. That's a short one, but for the most part, a lot of the games I was playing were definitely not 2 hours. But again,
like
Fantasy Star
Goblins is actually a really short game. It's just that its length is heavily extended by you dying over and over and over and over and over and over and over.
That game was Giga Chad of games. It was just back there like cackling when you die on the worm boss or something. You're like, come on, what the fuck? And I believe in that when there's no die. Was there diagonal attacks yet in Ghouls and Ghosts?
In your underwear.
Was it just up, down? Was it up, down, left, and right for attacks on the lance, or could you do diagonal on Ghouls and Ghosts? I don't think you could do diagonal, right?
I don't think you could do diagonal.
I don't think you could do diagonal. And there was a boss, in particular, the reason why I asked is there's the crustacean boss or whatever, and you get on him, and he's got these things coming out of him, and you have to be above it to shoot straight down to hit it. And there were times where I'd be like slightly off, and you'd see that lance go past it, and you'd be like, yeah, I know where this is going. Skylar, $5 super chat. I'm a DMC5 fanboy. Tell me who this is that doesn't go for new combos, LOL. Enjoying the show, by the way. I'm an hour late. No problem. Thank you very much. Again, the super chats help. We don't do sponsors of any kind, so all of that kind of stuff helps. Or check out the Patreon. And DMC, the number of people I know who return to play that game who do not go back to do combos or learn new ones is higher than the number of people I know who go back to learn new ones.
Usually they just button mash, right?
They're just button mashing. They're on easy mode, like Reg, who's like, "Hey, this was fun. I might as well go through again." And it's got the easy
the
mode
auto combo,
stamp.
that does the combos for you.
Yeah, it's like "You're a loser" is water printed on the screen, and that dude was just ironclad about it. He was like, "I am, no problem. I'm playing through it, and I'm enjoying the fuck out of it."
I think that shows the strength of the game too. That it doesn't.
Absolutely.
It does. That it allows.
Doesn't need you to be bought into the the deep gameplay that you can get if you do get nitty gritty with all the combos and everything. That's just another level of satisfaction you can get out of it, and that's it.
Hey, let me point out straight up: if I do God of War Ragnarok again, am I doing it to learn new combos or try a different setup? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
In fact, I'd probably be doing it and trying to just know what I already know, and just playing it to enjoy it, and probably not out there to like. I mean, admittedly, I did some of the optional, a lot of the optional stuff in the God of War games, but for the most part, that's probably not why I'm playing those kind of games, especially third-person action. Spider-Man, for instance, if I start Spider-Man 2 over, is my drive to get some of the suits I didn't get? Maybe a bit, but not too much. Mostly, it's just to kick people off skyscrapers, watch me break their back, and pretend they're okay 5 minutes later. Like that's I find infinite humor in somehow leaving a person alive but mangled and still trying to pretend I'm a good guy. Like that to me is the most
literally hanging by a thread. Like,
dude, one sliver of life. It's like Batman. He's crippled. He's got a colostomy bag, and Peter Parker's like, "I don't kill nobody," and you're like, "No, you don't. You make it way worse, man. You're way worse."
Especially when that's how he killed Gwen in the comics as well. Yeah.
How he did what? Silver? What were you saying?
Killed Gwen accidentally in the comics.
In the comics, he killed her.
Yeah, when Green Goblin throws Gwen off the bridge.
Oh, gotcha.
He dives, spins his web through her ankle, and then the breaking of the fall breaks her and snaps her.
Snaps her. So basically, a repeat of that is the same that went on in the Andrew Garfield version. Then.
In the movie, with
great
Andrew.
movie, great ending. That, like, I don't get verklempt, but that was one time where I was like,
yeah, that one hit.
Because when her head hit, as somebody who's hit my head a lot of times, like you're in the snow, when you hear it, you're like,
that's a wrap.
Dude. That is possibly 2 gravestones because the head will no longer be like connected. That was gross. It's a wet sack of potatoes hitting the ground. You're like, yeah, that's over. Or she's going to be learning the ABCs all over again and probably only get to B because the brain is going to be so damaged. Yeah, man, that was rough. I forgot about that. I wasn't even aware. I mean, I should have been aware that was in the comics, obviously, but I wasn't aware that was replicated like that.
No, me neither.
That accurate.
It was cool to see Andrew in the later movies with all the other Spider-Man.
Oh yeah,
like
redeemed,
and him talking about it, and he like, trying to get over it and everything.
And then of course Peter still like, it's complicated.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck you, Peter, man, come on. It can't. You're 40. If you put "it's complicated" on Facebook, Twitter, or you tell somebody it's complicated, you might as well just realize you're never gonna mature. Like, Peter, move on. If it's still complicated, move on, man. I don't know what was going on there. I do want a story about Peter Parker, or about Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, though. I want to jump into his world and just watch him still trying to get fucking what's her name to like him.
Yeah, Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Move on, man.
That was such a cursed relationship
at this point.
Like,
it's cursed from the beginning. She's leaving husbands at altars. She's banging his friend. You're like, dude, what the? Peter Parker needs
many red
a
flags?
Steve. Peter Parker needs a Steve, a no man to sit next to him. And Peter will be like, is this a good idea? Steve's in the corner drinking, like, I don't know, a Capri Sun.
Like,
and he's just like,
Pete,
he doesn't even, he's just got the straw in his mouth and he's like, and Peter's all right, I'm leaving her. That's all I need. Peter needs a Steve. Peter needs a Steve could sound really weird. And then the next up, let's talk about Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So the PC patch number 9, this was also from Digital Foundry. They did a port report on this. Basically, that's what we'd be calling them. That is, of course, Total Biscuit's, I'll call it his copyright. He had very good idea for that. They used to be called port report videos, where he would talk about the PC ports and then later sometimes the patches. They say that Jedi Survivor's PC patch did improve it, but it is still very poor.
Damn, that's so rough.
It's weird because I haven't really noticed even at release. I didn't notice any significant
PC
issues
or
on my
console,
end,
real
on
quick.
PC.
PC. Okay. Really?
Yeah, mine
Yeah.
played fairly well too, I have to say. But then again, there were so many reports of unacceptable, like
Loads
audio.
of people having issues.
Yeah, like the audio was desynced like for people.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't even watch a
Dude.
cutscene.
I
For some
mean,
people.
you guys can't be the only two people where that it did work, but for the majority of people, there were issues everywhere. PlayStation as well. So to pull those in, consoles had all kinds of issues. And they've stated they're working on a third one. I'm all for it because that kid, Cameron, if he's in a game, I'm
He's
gonna
great.
I'm going to show up. The guy's phenomenal actor. I'm going to show up to watch it. But whatever they tried to do in Survivor, they need to fix. And I don't know what they tried to do. I'm not pretending I do. Even the Digital Foundry guys are a little questioning on why it's still got its issues that it's got. It feels like it's an underlying issue, though, if you get my drift, because we're on patch 9.
Yeah.
That's rough. That's a lot of patches to improve performance and still end up having issues like this. So I want the new one. I'll jump in, whatever it's called, Star Wars Jedi. Let's see, what was the first one? Fallen Order?
Yeah.
This one's Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So whatever the next one is called, I'm going to be there day one to
The next
review
one
it or to play it.
Maybe they would call it. It would be fitting if they called it like Revenge of the Jedi in a way. What Return was supposed to be called.
Because of what happens in Survivor.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why exactly, but the combat in the game annoyed me. Ransom says, I like the first one, but I gave up. You're not the only one to say that, Ransom. And I haven't really sat down to dissect it because I also was not a fan of Survivor's combat. So I can't speak to why it didn't grab me. It wasn't that it was bad, it's that it wasn't engaging. Also, their lead left and they're making a third one. I do feel, this is just me talking out of pocket, I do feel it'd be great if they revisited the Dark Souls elements that are in there for no reason. I mean, that's probably going to break everything and make people be like, but I really am okay if they don't have respawning stuff. I would be okay with, trying to figure out a way. I don't know how they would do it because the game is sort of core made up from that element. But
yeah, it's organized around it.
It's organized around it. Also, really make it feel like lightsabers would be great. It still feels a little bit like, bumping uglies. Yeah. Batons. Silver, weren't you saying the same thing? Even when you're on the hardest difficulty or something, it felt like you were just beating people up with like pieces of plywood. Like they just took thousands of hits in armor. Were you the one telling me that? Somebody was in our chat.
Yeah, I mean, that depends on the enemies. I mean, when you're fighting stormtroopers and the like, I think it feels pretty good.
It feels pretty good.
And same with some of the battle droids, but some of the enemies are a little too tanky where it's not really necessarily a question of health. It's one of my biggest pet peeves, especially in modern gaming, is stagger immunity for enemies. And this is an issue in Space Marine 2 as well for me, where you're hitting enemies and they just don't register it at all. They just completely ignore it. It doesn't interrupt animations. It doesn't do anything outside of maybe chip away at a health bar. That's the only thing it does. Yeah. Where I want some kind of reaction to the fact that I've just hit this guy or whatever. I want something tangible there, something kinetic.
That's weird.
Expresses that, right?
That's weird. Like that there's not some kind of reaction at all. That feels
not really
odd to me.
Yeah, quite often there isn't. When you're slashing a lightsaber in somebody's face, if it doesn't outright kill them, then
Silver, there are some of the optional mini bosses are super tanky, and they are they are a bag of flesh, and you're hitting them with your lightsaber, and nothing happens for 20 minutes, right?
Yes.
And they just take hit over hit. And
Well, hopefully they can work through it. I asked some people some
Yeah.
different questions about it, and also people responding about this, and they are talking about it. Robert says the next Jedi game better include back the next Jedi game better include back the Battle of the Grid mode. Back
Battle of the Grid, is that
Battle of the
from a
Grid.
prior Jedi game?
Oh no.
Not sure.
Indio says Jedi MacGyver. Jay Reaper says I refunded on console pretty quickly. House says, do you
I think
guys
it's the
notice
mini
micro
game
stutter?
that's kind of the
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
that. Oh.
that you play in the cantina.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Vessel says the Dark Souls-esque is why I refuse to play those games. If I want Dark Souls, I'll go play that.
I did.
Yeah.
Also,
I get that.
just
Go ahead.
to be fair, I did really enjoy the combat overall in Survivor. Frankly, I felt it was better than Fallen Order.
No
and I had
shit.
fun with the game overall. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But that comes with caveats where what I enjoyed was the actual feel of the combat. The encounter design a lot of the time in that game is atrocious. Absolutely atrocious, especially for some of the like the optional boss fights, some of the worst I've seen in a long time, where they
Damn.
put you in a really tiny arena and they give you like 3 huge monsters and you can't see
Yeah.
anything of what's going on.
Everybody in
good luck.
chat, did you
Yeah.
guys like the combat in that one? I'd like to know if you guys enjoyed the combat, regardless of any tech issues. Next up, God of War Ragnarok launch to mixed Steam user reviews. So I checked into this. Basically, what I saw from God of War, in particular Ragnarok, and in particular the complaints about Ragnarok, were based around errors with the video card being queried of its RAM and its data. So people had like 4090s, it'd be like you don't have enough RAM, something like that. The other was that people were complaining about the PlayStation Network account. And the reason that I saw was pretty interesting, which was that many people don't trust PlayStation's network account because of the multi hacks that they've got in the past, which they outright, that is for sure true. Remember, Sony's one of the few companies, well, sort of like this one that just happened recently, where they didn't tell people for 6 months that they got hacked. And so people were getting their 2-factor hacked. There were all kinds of legitimate issues. So I do get that. And they're making people merge those two. And some people either don't have an account anymore and have moved away from it completely, or just don't really trust an additional account. The other one, like I said, was about video card in particular. I was seeing a lot of errors where the game just wasn't tracking what video card people had, but it looks like overall performance seemed to be up to snuff. If anybody's playing it and you can report on performance and the PC you're playing to play it, that would be nice. I think that it's interesting to me that this one is mixed. Did Final Fantasy 16 not require the PlayStation Network connection? Because I find it interesting that Final Fantasy
That's a good
16
question.
did not
Yeah.
seem to have that complaint. So
Yeah.
I was wondering if the two were connected, or if there was some issue there that I wasn't aware of. But anybody in chat, if you're playing either one of those, I'd like to know about Final Fantasy 16. Does it require the connection? And then also God of War Ragnarok, if you saw, any kind of issues there. But for the most part, I think Sony's does fairly good jobs with their, with their ports. This just seems like at least twice now they've had little bits of issues here with these last two. Final Fantasy 16 was rough on the PC though. Like Final Fantasy 16 was not great. So, but Jar says Final Fantasy 16 is not Sony's first party. Absolutely correct. But what we're trying to figure out is if Final Fantasy 16 requires the network connection.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything about it, so I'm assuming it maybe
So it
doesn't,
just doesn't require it. Okay.
which
So
is strange, right?
well, because it's not first party, they're saying that they don't think that, like they're requiring Square to require that connection. So that's good.
Right.
So it is also weird because we know Sony wants those numbers so bad. It's not weird. It's good that they're not requiring Square to add it, if that makes sense. They're not requiring those other people to port it. So, all right. Colin said, yeah. So Colin said, I watched a YouTuber who said PSN is not required. You can quit out of the login process. Oh.
Cool.
You mean like attempt it and then quit out of it? Yeah, the login process thing is weird, but that's good. That's good. Thanks, guys. For God of War Ragnarok, he says, okay, what? Colin says, I watched a YouTuber who said PSN is not required for Ragnarok. This is what he's saying. You can quit out of the login process.
Okay.
Interesting. Sony really wants you to sign up for these. Like, they really want you to be in there. But it would be funny if they're like, if you quit out of it, you don't have to do it. I don't know if that's true or not, but Colin says that he saw a YouTuber. Do you remember the YouTuber, Colin? If you can give us a heads up on the YouTuber, that would be interesting. This is also connected to Sony, just in Sony news, Concord. So there were some rumors that Concord costs like 300, 400 million to make. I saw another thing. This was from, not Kind of Funny, Sacred Symbols. They were saying that internally, people at Sony were calling Concord the future of Sony, which is funny because that is no less than the 6th game I have heard someone internally calling the future of Sony. I think that's sort of just generic now. It feels like whatever game they think might be big is big. But the other thing I was talking about in cost, Silver, which you and I discussed this right before the starting of the podcast, and I don't know if I mentioned it, was the CGI. Because there was a lot of cut. That also costs a boatload of money. So we were trying to figure out.
Like the other week as well, that not only the sunken cost of cinematics they've shown so far, but they had a commitment of delivering one per week. So there are a lot of like moving parts and a pipeline set up for that to happen already as well. So they kind of had built up a pipeline for that to take place, presumably, I'm assuming.
Man, yeah, it's a lot of money. I mean, when you look at, like, let's say 400 million, let's say 300 million. One of the breakdowns that somebody else did, not me, but they did a good breakdown, so I wanted to read it, which is, and it's gone. I missed it out of here. Let me see if I put it into our Friday podcast thing. Shoot, I didn't. But they were breaking it down that Cyberpunk, including Phantom Liberty, not Phantom Pain, but including Phantom Pain and all the PR didn't cost that much. So all of Cyberpunk, all of Phantom Pain, Phantom Liberty.
Old Star Wars: The Old Republic, when it released, I think it was the most expensive video game.
Which one?
Of all time. Star Wars: The Old Republic, the MMORPG.
The MMO.
I think it was the most expensive game of all time at the time.
Cutscenes or whatever.
Yeah, that and just the massive amount of voice lines for that game and everything else involved into producing that game. I think it ran like 400 to 500 million, or a little over in production costs at the time. And at the time, that was like the most expensive game ever made, which has since been eclipsed by Star Citizen, and I think maybe even others after that, because games have only gotten steadily more
What's
expensive.
Star Citizen? Most expensive game that's gonna be made? Most expensive made. By the way, I do feel that Star Citizen is definitely going to get released. Like I've far eclipsed my initial reservations, but at the same time, deliver money wise what we see, probably not. Speardust says SWTOR had surprisingly well-known voice actors. Did it? I do think it is a phenomenal game. I wasn't aware of I didn't really track the voice actors in that one because I believe they were full of shit.
There were a lot of well-known. Jennifer Hale was in it.
True. Yeah.
Among others.
Yeah.
Many others.
Great game though. I mean, SWTOR should have been a movie. It is. Era, if you get a chance, check out some of the game, what are they called? Made for cutscenes into movies, I guess is what they'd be called, where people have taken all the cutscenes with a little bit of gameplay and made their own movies out of it, 8 hours long or 12 hours long. And I have watched so many of those. Those guys have got a lot of ad money from me. Gamers Little Playground got some serious cash from me. It's got to be the most watched channel other than like Kyle Hill for me. And I've sat through 8 hours of their cutscenes made into movies and have enjoyed the shit out of it. William Riggs says, just saw Days Gone is getting remastered. Did they announce that for sure, or is that the rumor still? Because we did hear a rumor that it was going to get remastered, which my issues with Days Gone aside, I don't see an issue. I don't see a reason to remaster that at all. Doesn't Days Gone, I thought Days Gone, now that it's been patched up on both PlayStation and on PC, I thought Days Gone looked really good and played pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a remaster of that, and we do know this was leaked in Sony's documents with all the leaks that they are going for remasters of as many games as humanly possible. But damn, guys, Days Gone, like that just seems.
I mean, I heard they were. I don't know if it was a joke or whatever, but the remaster of Horizon.
I saw that too. Yeah.
That's preposterous. It's one of the best looking games. Like,
dude, I don't even get that. What I mean, remaster what? You know, ray tracing, maybe full on ray tracing. Like, it just they.
Now we're back to the PS5 Pro argument. Like, who's buying this?
Boom.
Like,
that's exactly where I was going with this objection. But that's you beat me to it. That is quite literally what I was going to say. Is when Sony's first party games don't have a quality, image quality problem, and so the idea of remastering it, you look at it and you're like, seriously?
Like diminishing returns. Like, sure, it's nice.
You know what needs to be remastered? Like Microsoft should remaster Quantum Break. That game had a bunch of weird issues in how it rendered on the original systems and some gameplay issues that are pretty cumbersome. That kind of title would make sense. But Days Gone? I mean, again, this is not a game I love.
What are we doing, guys?
But what are we doing, guys? Yeah. But again, this all fits in all of the remaster leaks that had come out with, back during the Sony versus Microsoft Activision stuff, as well as some leaks that their plan was live service and remasters. And I got to say, I think we can sit back now and say those leaks, everything's been accurate. That plus the GeForce Now leak.
Imagination has died. Yeah.
Someone said everything got remastered except Bloodborne.
Okay, so that's the other dude. Dude, come on. Somebody's got to be cackling about that. But again, we
haven't seen a Sekiro remaster yet either.
No, we haven't. But I think Bloodborne's the one that people just don't understand. Red Dead 1. Yeah. Red Dead 1. And we know there's been some leaks and some data that's leaked out and some patches for 2. But I would say Red Dead 1 and that one are the two where you're just like, seriously? You guys aren't going to remaster those? Didn't From state
and Red Dead 1 is one where we hear every year, oh, it's coming.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with Red Dead 1.
It's definitely coming now. I know we said this before, but this is the year.
My uncle at Nintendo. Dude, I'm telling you, there are so many people who have an uncle at Nintendo. They probably have an uncle division because this is ridiculous. It's like, and the same thing happens with these, with like Red Dead. Bully was the other one. Bully gets mentioned a lot of times. And Bully's already been really remastered or
it was remastered
pseudo remade
for the first time.
Yeah. And then, so
PC port.
I would love to see it. I would love to see, do you know what else I would love to see? LA Noire. Straight up, I know it's not the most popular game, and it is probably impossible because, well, you could use AI remastering on the models, on the, their faces.
Yeah.
I know there's some tech issues with how they did those faces initially and what format their textures are in, but I would kill to see LA Noire get one. Don't remind me about Bloodborne. I'm just joking. Yeah, Bloodborne's weird. Did you guys see, somebody brought it up that, Splinter Cell TV show on Netflix.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they announced it yesterday. What the That's the other one. Ubisoft is like, Splinter Cell. What's Splinter Cell? It's a TV show on Netflix. You're like, why? Where's the game? Yeah,
well, that's a weird one because how do you make an interesting show out of stealth gameplay? When you think about it, a lot of it is you're crouching in the dark, like waiting for guards to pass by. And then you
make it a spy thriller.
Make it a spy. I think you can do it.
Like the book. Like I think
he can still he can go loud sometimes, right?
I remember right as well.
Yeah, he can go loud. He doesn't always have to be, and it won't be Michael Ironside, unfortunately. Obviously.
Right. Yeah.
If Michael Ironside was the main character, I'd be like, this
I guess the answer is it won't be.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it wouldn't even have to be necessarily Sam Fisher. You could just make it for echelon.
Yeah. So it probably won't be the gameplay of like sitting there with the You know.
Yeah, you're right though. So I don't like the idea, but Fallout showed that you don't have to follow the game. So
Yeah, it could
Splinter
be-
Cell doesn't have to follow that it's Sam. Yeah, but I like Sam, man. Like,
Yeah, Sam's great.
like Sam worked for me on multiple levels, and well, it doesn't matter what I think.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's-
Sam, I think to a lot of us, is also inextricably tied to Ironside, right?
Yeah, right. I mean,
hand in hand.
could
There's not
see-
even an argument for that. Yeah.
I think you could see a really good interpretation to the point where people would be happy with it, kind of like what we saw for The Last of Us with Joel and Pedro Pascal,
Yeah, true.
where people thought he did enough of a really good job that they were happy with it. You can imagine a different world where, you know,
Yes.
maybe he doesn't nail the part and he's hated, right, by the gaming community.
Oh, for sure. It's certainly not an impossibility.
Right.
Skylar says, as Ubisoft dangles a Splinter Cell remake corpse above my head, $5 super chat. Yeah, I mean, I was just asking everybody in chat, what are some of the others? Max Payne remasters would be awesome, Hal says. Max Payne got a... Did it get any kind of remaster or remake? Or is it just still the...
No,
I don't
It's
think
still
so.
the
no.
they're making the remake. I mean,
That's what I thought. Okay, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, and they said those were in full production recently, right? In the last couple months. Yeah, so there you go, Hal. Those are being that is a thing for sure. And it's not a remaster, that's a remake. Well, okay. I believe it's a remaster in name because it's not adjusting a bunch of shit, but it is a full remaster because we're 27 engines later. I mean, that game, when you look at that game, you know,
So
now
they're rebuilding a bunch of stuff, probably.
Yeah, I mean, dude, what could you even use? The audio in that game is trash, by the way. If you go back, so when I was doing my 101 quote video, I had 2 from Max Payne I wanted to use, and the audio is horrendous. It's got like room hush. It's got, you know, all the
Right.
It's got all of that mixed in. You're just like, damn, this was a long time ago. So they'll have to re-record all of that, which would be fine. Who was the who did the voice acting? He passed away, didn't he? Max Payne's voice. Didn't
yes,
the guy?
sadly, James McCaffrey.
James
yes.
McCaffrey. Thank you. Yeah, he did. Dude, that guy was good too. That guy. Yeah. Damn. One random. I asked people what
delivering all those soliloquies. That's not easy.
No, it's not, because you go a little too far and it's not B, it's full cheese, it's C. It's where it's like, this isn't working.
You have to strike a particular note there.
He was able to hit like the narrative notes that just, I don't know why, but they still sound cheesy, but he hit them just right enough that you were like, that is what a guy would say if his wife and child were killed. You know,
and it fit in really well with like Remedy's fourth wall breaking.
Yeah, dude, those were good. He was a good actor too. He was in some of my favorite shows. I see Jamal says Sleeping Dogs would be a good remake or remaster, and I would agree with that. Yeah, definitely.
That one did get a full like remaster.
PC was it a remaster?
Yeah. For like full HD stuff with remaster and stuff, but that was years ago. So
I hope it wasn't like the San Andreas HD.
No.
Colin Bright says Gears of War. I mean, Gears of War got Gears of War Unlimited Edition or whatever on PC because I reviewed that.
Yeah,
what was it called?
I played that. That was fine.
I thought it was fine. I thought it was. It's up to date enough. Era says, and Era, I'm not going to try to pronounce the rest of yours, so I hope that part of your name is right. He says remasters Black and White 2. Soul Reaver, Blood Raven. Huh. 007, whatever happened to Beyond Good and Evil. Beyond Good and Evil's 20th anniversary got released, and 2 is still being made. Actually, we should hear some news on 2 here soon.
Forever being made.
Yeah.
Yeah, 007 would be good, right? Like a solid James Bond title.
Well, I would like to see Hitman 1.
Yeah.
Like, remade. Completely.
The franchise I really want to see come back is Hidden and Dangerous. I really miss that.
Yeah, Hidden and Dangerous would work well, and I think you could remake that without any real. There's nothing in it that like screams like this would be difficult now. It would just all be.
No,
easy.
I mean it's just World War II sort of standard fare, pretty much.
Would love 007 Agents Under Fire to be remade. Yeah, it would be awesome to see those remade. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it, just so everybody knows, as we're moving forward and we're starting to see more companies, unfortunately, disappearing. Small companies that release good games are still laying off. You know, we're seeing all these things. I could see remasters being a general, like a little bit of a gold-filled pot for some of these companies. Less so than a full, title that's an IP that you don't know if it's going to do well. They say, we'll release those, but we're going to augment with some remasters. And I guess that's my question. So, and I'm going to let my dogs out real quick while I do this, but Kel said freelancer. I would kill for a freelancer. When you guys see, so we saw Dead Rising, the remaster. On a remaster like that, where they change some stuff, would you rather have them change nothing, change all things to feel somewhat current, or are you pretty happy with, like, let's say a deluxe remaster for Dead Rising where it just changes some stuff and leaves other, like, do you ever get a little bit of gameplay pushback when you play a remaster and they've changed a couple things, they've adjusted for let's say accessibility, but at the same time some things are still cranky? Do you does the crankiness part push you off? And I'm gonna let my dogs off. Go ahead.
I think it really depends on what game it's remastering, in the sense of especially how long it's been since the original.
That's a good point, right? What's the difference between
that's the biggest thing. I mean, I think one of the best remasters I've played in the last few years was probably EA's remastering of Command and Conquer.
You talked about it a few times. It was pretty faithful.
And I mean, it was pretty much exactly faithful, and they also remastered the entire soundtrack for that game, which is iconic. For good reason. But they also allowed you to switch back and forth like they do with the Halo Master Chief Collection. But they allowed you to switch back and forth between sort of the newer, more updated graphics, the cleaner graphics, and then switch it back to the older, more pixelated.
That was a really funny experience, Silver, because in the new version, it would be like a full-blown cinematic, and then you would go back to the original version, pressing a button, and it was like a in-engine, completely different, it was
it's really fun to sort of transition between the two.
It is. I think for stuff like really big remakes, we're talking about like 20-year-old games like Final Fantasy VII, where we saw a complete overhaul of all systems. To me, that worked really well because it made the source material much more accessible to like the world nowadays in a way that it wouldn't have been if you just kept the isometric, old style.
Right.
And turn-based battles, random encounters, everything. It just wouldn't have been as mainstream.
Let me read some of these, because some of these are names we don't hear much, and I actually agree with pretty much everything I'm seeing here. So the first one is, so Jaden says Dragon Age Origins would be great, which I agree. Era says Blood Rain. He said Blood Raven was a typo. So Blood Rain I agree with. Aries says the Tales of series is getting a couple remasters. Okay, they are getting. But here are some ones I didn't think about. Or I did. Enyo says the remake I've been dreaming about for years is Deus Ex. I would agree. I think Deus Ex, especially number 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would. Not even necessarily that could get by on just a remaster, I think.
I think so too. Like just so it looks like Unreal 5 or whatever, but it's like it plays. Yeah.
Or you could run it in 4K or Although maybe I would imagine there are probably mods that allow you to do that.
There are, and I gotta say it does look, it's old.
Yeah. Right.
But Hermit says that Ultimate Alliance would be awesome, and I agree absolutely with that. Marvel Heroes was killed too soon. I agree with that. Watch Dogs 1 remastered. That's interesting to me because I think Watch Dogs 1 still looks pretty damned good for what it was doing. Vapor says Thief Deadly Shadows remastered. I would agree with that. It's what I know. I know the other ones are more whatever popular, but I thought Deadly Shadows was fucking awesome.
I mean, I think Deadly Shadows probably has the strongest story overall of the 3 games.
And my favorite
original
level.
trilogy.
So those two things, I
Yeah,
think,
the
are
cradle. Yeah.
dude. Yeah, yeah. Well, I could do an entire video on the cradle. I did do an entire video on the cradle.
Metal Age has my favorite villain though, with Karis.
Favorite villain in that, 1 was the best sense I felt of like wonder. 2 improved everything, and then 3 went. Admittedly, it did go a different way, but I personally felt it was awesome.
And also perfect end to the trilogy.
Yeah.
The way they
well, yeah,
looped it
because 4
around.
doesn't
Yeah.
exist. BioShock Infinite being remade would be my fave. KOTOR 1, Jay says. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with KOTOR 1. I mean, a dev supposedly said it's still coming. I think KOTOR 1, I would rather have a remaster where they go in, take it from whatever engine it's in, put it in a new engine, throw some ray tracing on there, obviously update the graphics, but they don't change anything. Leave that. I know that people don't love it, but leave the rule system in. Just let it ride on a graphical remake versus trying to rebuild it. I think the rebuilding part is... Oh, one random victory says Mercenaries. I can tell you Mercenaries, I think, is dead in the water as an IP. As far as I remember, and I think Maddie did a video where he interviewed the Mercenaries guys, and I believe that IP is spread out, but where it's... somebody said Dead Space was good. Dead Space was very good, and so was System Shock. So, Night Dive. Get Night Dive to do Deus Ex. Well, he tried to make it very clear that just because he wants to and has talked to people, it doesn't mean they'll make it. But he's definitely, there's definitely some titles out there that they're probably... Also, can I give a kudos? Night Dive does a really good job not telling you what they're working on.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you guys noticed that? Like, there's leaks for everything. My uncle told me this, and sometimes it turns out to be true. Oh, there's in GeForce Now, blah, 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 all these leaks. And Night Dive is like, oh, yeah, today we're releasing blah, blah, blah. And you're like, wait, what? You guys are making that? So I think they're, smaller team, which is probably, and a bunch of people long term, which is probably people who don't want to leak stuff. But Night Dive does a fantastic job with OPSEC, man. I don't know if they're killing people who find out what's going on, or if they threaten them with death if they tell anybody.
We heard almost nothing about like System Shock 2, right?
Wasn't it also
like the remake?
Doom or something? Well, System Shock there was a lot. No, System Shock there was a lot.
Did we see a lot?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think you're thinking Dead Space, maybe.
Yeah, I mean System Shock.
Maybe
had,
I just didn't see a lot.
System Shock had a Kickstarter and stuff.
Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like Doom. The Doom ones got announced and out, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah.
It could just be that wasn't that.
I had that impression as well.
Yeah, I had that impression.
And Dark Forces, I hadn't really heard about either,
right,
until they released it.
Right there, yeah, that kind of stuff is just like boom, here's your shit, and yeah, they do a tremendous job. They're really good at that. I like the surprise, and they don't overreach. Weirdly enough, like. For the most part, their remakes, remasters have been super faithful. I mean, even if they
Dark
adjust
Forces
stuff,
in particular, are extremely faithful.
Yeah, they know, and it's probably because they played them.
They know the audience that's going to buy them.
Yeah, and they know how to spread a little bit of love to make a new audience possibly get them. But I think they're smart in letting the old audience become the PR for the new audience. The old audience is like. Here's how good it was day one. Here's some adjustments they made. Therefore, if you're new to this, you might like it. And boom, people get it. It's pretty fucking sweet. They do a really good job in that way. Let's look up some new news. What do we got for today? The Finals Season 4 trailer dropped an hour ago. I think the Finals is a game that is sort of sad to me. The game launched, did really well. A lot of people loving it. But they sort of went... They went dry a little bit with their releases, and it would have been nice to have had them have a little bit more available because almost everybody I know really liked the Finals, really loved it, but it was lean, right?
Yeah, so those games need a constant release of new stuff to keep you excited. We see that with Fortnite, right? Like there's always a new season, there's stuff dropping. They're trying to do it with Helldivers, with changes constantly. They're trying to do it with Space Marine 2 with the roadmap.
Mm-hmm. Also, the other thing is that I'm sure you guys saw this, and we already had one report of this, but here's another one. Square Enix has just confirmed again the new release strategy for Final Fantasy, which is to release on everything.
Right.
Dude, like, so we can discuss this now because we were talking about it earlier. We were talking about the 20th, or was it 30th anniversary of the PlayStation?
Yeah, the 30th.
Okay. So we'll talk about all this in one. This is Xbox, Sony, and Nintendo combined, but it's going to be wrapped around Sony just because of some of these things. The age-old pattern that we've existed on for so long is just, it's absolutely breaking apart. And one of the things I noticed was the collector thing. It used to be super popular, and it could be just the economy speaking. But when they say here's a 30th anniversary edition of a PlayStation 5, when you can't even figure out why you want a PlayStation 5, they're Pro and 5. It makes you wonder if these guys are so accustomed to what's worked in the past, they're just motor set into doing the same things. And so you see the VR, the Portal, you see Sony doing this, you see for a long time Final Fantasy releasing on one system and expecting that to completely pay for everything. And I do feel like people need to gear up, because it's not just exclusives that are changing. It's the stuff like this where they're trying to sell you a premier console or a specialized console because they're trying to get the people who like collect consoles. I don't know why, but it feels like they're not reading the room at all. That the room doesn't have the fucking disposable money. That it's almost like they think they're missing the audience. And my personal opinion isn't that. It's the audience is there, but the audience is solidly not wanting what they're doing, because what they're doing feels antiquated. What they're doing, it's like, I'm going to sell you a custom console. I'm going to sell you this. I'm going to sell you that. And everybody's looking around going like, dude, could you just remake the game that we've wanted you to remake, like Bloodborne, for 8 years? Like, yeah, you can sell us another console to not play Bloodborne on? Like, what? And by the way, again, this is Microsoft, this is Nintendo. They're all doing this, and it's a little it makes me a little nervous when we see Nintendo, and maybe, you know, is Nintendo going to do the same thing? I don't know. But remember just how many years ago you guys were all on the podcast. Johnny was already on here when they were selling us that Nintendo, or what was it, the PlayStation Classic, that little box. Didn't it have a couple games on it or something? It was like a mini.
Yeah, the NES Classic, yeah.
Or NES Classic and stuff like that. We just keep getting these repeats of the old patterns.
NES Mini is what it was called.
Was it NES Mini? I thought PlayStation did one too, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
PlayStation
Okay.
did one. Yeah, Sony did one as well.
I don't know what you guys think. I just feel like they are reading a room that doesn't exist anymore. That it doesn't exist for tons of reasons, but I don't know about you guys. Do you know what I want? Again, I know you guys might even argue, but fix your PlayStation 5 battery life. Fix Xbox, fix whatever you've got. Sony, Nintendo, fix whatever you've got. Instead of saying, here's another fucking specially painted console. I mean, guys, we're so far past that now. The economy isn't good. The people you're selling to isn't good. Here's a PlayStation VR that we're not going to support. What the hell? Like, where are we? They see numbers I don't see. So obviously they know better than I do, but it doesn't mean that they make better choices on those numbers. And I don't know, man. It's sort of depressing to see that, because I want to celebrate games too. 3 decades, that's insane. They're in the console space that, you know, Nintendo's in, but look at TurboGrafx-16 was there, gone. Sega was there, gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like
Jaguar.
Fuck. Okay. We'll give Jaguar 1. Engage, and let's just go with all of them. Engage. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just feels weird, man. It feels like they're selling into a group that has their handhelds already, that has their cheaper PCs than not ever, but performant PCs, I would certainly say. But I don't know.
Yeah, they're certainly riding a wave of nostalgia, right?
Yeah.
Even with things like Astrobot, where they're celebrating all of these IPs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was JP, we had him on, and he said it was kind of like
It's a graveyard.
Or maybe it was I don't remember. Yeah, it was like a graveyard of IPs that nothing has been done with, which is, you know, it's fair. but
Yeah, and I don't want
I
them.
mean, I think that also applies broadly to the industry in like every major
that's
publisher.
sort of
pretty
where I
much.
was going to go. Yeah.
yeah,
And I was going to go that if they did revisit a bunch of them, what would we do? We'd be like, there's no new IP. We see that
there's
with
no
it.
new-
You know,
yeah.
you can't please everybody. It's just what I'm saying is it feels like right now that the group that is, you know, wanting and getting excited about some of the games, including the remakes or remasters or sequels, we get a sequel of, let's say, Assassin's Creed. You get Assassin's Creed Shadows. That's fine. But Beyond Good and Evil 2, you know, obviously stymied. And you're sitting there going,
yeah.
you know, and that's just one company. And then you start looking at a lot
Or
of them.
a new Splinter Cell game.
Or a new. Yeah, dude, listen to this. You can't tell me Ubisoft doesn't find this funny. They have to find it funny. They're like, you guys want a new Splinter Cell? Here's a VR game. You want a new Splinter Cell game? Here's a TV show. And you're like, dude.
We're working on something.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
is English to French that difficult of a translation that they're not picking up
Yeah.
on what people like? What in the hell is going on here? It's just weird. Robert says, what do you guys think of Dragon's Dogma 2 having an easy mode? It's ridiculously already easy. We need a hard mode. What the F? I don't know anything about that, but I think it's fine. I do think that they patched up, from what I understand, some performance issues on Dragon's Dogma. So maybe the city has 12 FPS instead of 6.
Yeah, I mean, think about it this way. The easy mode literally does not affect you unless you play in easy mode.
Yeah, on that one. And revisiting that game, I think is probably what he's talking about, going back to replay it. I have a feeling the DLC will do that. That's just my that's my guess, is that the DLC will be, you know, suitably difficult. That's just my guess on. He left though, didn't he? Didn't the main designer for Dragon's Dogma leave?
I'm not sure,
Did he?
but I think it's been ambiguous whether there will even be DLC for it.
Yeah, there we go. Right? Yeah, that
Yeah.
too. That too. Yeah, it's weird, man. Niche says double the FPS. Whoa, yeah, from 6 to 12. That's why percentages aren't always good. When somebody says, "Hey, man, we went up 200%," and you're like, "Yeah, but your original was 2." So it's not exactly exciting.
You know, I was thinking about the PS5 thing because we talked about it with Co. I don't really understand the situation. It's kind of confusing because I think it's a great console. I actually like my PS5 a lot. You know, games look great on it. I think maybe the one I could complain about is Final Fantasy Rebirth. It looked a bit blurry in the performance mode, which is what I played in.
Yeah.
But pretty much every game looked like incredible. You know, starting with Demon's Souls, which was the first one they released that was exclusive to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had Ratchet and Clank, looked incredible.
Yep.
We had Spider-Man even be able to do like ray tracing with 60 FPS.
Yep.
So for me, there's nothing about like the box that needs to be changed. I'm happy with the box. I don't need a new box. I don't need a new color.
The box.
Yeah. But we want more games, right? Like, when's the last time you guys booted up your PS5? And again, this is someone who likes the PS5. I booted up my PS5 maybe 6 months ago, or like, you know, even longer. So it just, there aren't that many, and they have some great games. It's not saying they don't, but
yeah,
I think that's the area that, you know, we should be looking at for investments.
Yeah, dude, I don't know, man. I'm not unimpressed or impressed with the Xbox Series S, X, PlayStation 5. Can't wait to be able to say Switch 2. But at some point we'll be able to say that.
Yeah.
I'm not unimpressed and I'm not impressed. They're delivery vehicles, and there's been some overlap that Abzy used to always talk about. He was always really down on the overlap. I was not. I still am not down on the overlap. We have moved for sure on PS4 to some PS5 specific titles coming out. And we're seeing them come out later too on the PS4. If you guys have noticed, there's been a couple games that were PS5 original, and then they're like, okay, PS4 version is coming out. I'm not necessarily unimpressed, but I do I do get confused when it's like, here's an add-on and here's an adjustment to that when, yeah, we're looking at the games. But I mean, the games are expensive. Let's say we cut Concord to half the reported price, to 200 million. Do you guys remember just not too many years ago when a movie that cost 100 million was a big deal?
Oh,
And
yeah, or even
now,
a TV show like Game of Thrones or something.
Yeah, now TV shows are, fucking 20 to 80 million per episode.
Quadrillion,
yeah. Like, jeez.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's just odd, man. I don't know. Microsoft has a bunch of stuff to fix. Nintendo certainly has to restore confidence in that they can deliver a handheld that's going to in some way be not a reason to upgrade, because but impactful in that market, because there's a different competition there. But that's notwithstanding their first party, obviously. But yeah, it's weird, man. I don't really understand, like, and again, this is for the minis too. I don't really understand the boutique stuff. The boutique stuff used to be a deal because it was a deal. And I think now the boutique stuff isn't a deal. It's not a deal anymore. You're not getting,
especially as we've moved them increasingly away from physical media, right?
Well, there's the other thing, moving away from physical. Yeah, so less, right? No CD drive. You guys know me. I'm not necessarily torn on. I do like media preservation, but I'm not torn on a system that doesn't. I'm not going to like lose my sleep if it doesn't have one. But when you see the price, if you had told me these were 500, then that makes more sense. But when you're at 700, you're like, that needs to have a drive in it. Like, not only does that need to have a drive, that needs to have that's a premium. It needs to have every single. You can't call it a pro, and I mean, it's not a pro. It's literally unprofessional. Like, it's the opposite of. It's less professional. Base. Yeah, it should be called the novice, or the HR, something useless. But it is weird that when you look at it, the decisions being made don't really reflect the industry as a whole now, and maybe they're that slow. We've heard that too. I'm sure you guys have heard that, where a lot of companies are like, hey, a lot of these companies are just too slow to make quick decisions, and they have to keep going forward regardless and sort of hope it pans out, which I do understand, but we also see other companies seemingly fixing it. Also, there's something to be said for, we hear this all the time, that people are like, well, somebody buys an iPhone each year. And I agree, but I want to point something out. That an iPhone, for the most part, is a utilitarian device that also does other stuff. A console is at your fucking house, plugged into a TV. You don't put it in your pocket. And there is something to be said about a GPS device, a picture-taking device, a device that blah, 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 that sells itself on utility. And these are not selling themselves currently on utility until we see more. They used to,
actually, back when they envisioned them as media centers, media platforms.
The thing that we disliked, they've turned into anyway, and in an almost worse way than we originally fought for. Skylar, $5 super chat. Thoughts on games continue to skip Xbox, Monster Hunter Series, Gundam Evolution, Capcom Collection, and Freedom Wars. MT Framework games, right? Yeah. I mean, Microsoft's already stated they're working on it, and Capcom already reversed stance on. Was it the Capcom Versus that they reversed stance on just recently? Capcom said we are now bringing it to the Xbox, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. There's probably something with that particular engine. Yeah. I think Capcom would love to release on everything, but there must be something there that they're having a difficult
By the way, one thing you said there, like with the physical, if they're selling a premium version of the console, isn't that also kind of tailored towards the collectors, the people who buy the expensive editions and the collector's editions and everything? But you're also making their life much worse by not having the drive in the console itself, because it doesn't matter if you have the money to buy the external drive. The fact is, you wouldn't want to have an external drive. It's just
if
not
you're
as
buying
nice.
A specialized looking classic edition.
It's not as nice to have a box next to the console,
another box
to plug a CD, than to have it built in. It just isn't.
Yeah,
it's not a premium experience.
I can't wait to see it. I want to see the Pro. I mean, I want to see. I don't think we'll see like massive improvements. We haven't. The most improved one I saw was Rebirth, and it's improved.
Yeah,
but
that looked good. Yeah,
it looked good, but not 700 good. Not even close to 700 good. It
It would have been nice if they made it less of an eyesore, though.
The system.
Yeah.
Have you seen the GIF or GIF, depending on where from, or JPEG, where it shows a guy with a single toothpick and it shows a PlayStation 5, and then with three toothpicks and it shows a PlayStation 5 Pro, and I was like, dude, that is way too close to home.
Yeah, that is nailed.
That is way too close to home. I think the idea, and anybody in chat, you can argue, I think the idea of physical media, it's important for sure, but I'm also not, again, I'm not 100% like, you can't do one, but when you shelter it as a pro, and you put it down as a pro, it needs to have the disc.
Makes sense. Yeah, it needs to have the base features.
In fact, I think of non-disc meaning cheaper instantly.
Yeah.
Like instantly. So if you don't have something in that's expected, that should...
Like the Switch that didn't do the click. That didn't...
Oh, God, and they still had the click in the commercials.
Still have the click in the
and you're like, dude, that one doesn't click. You've literally removed it. But yeah, I think if it's missing something, and this goes for any company in the future that does this, if you're missing something, you're removing it. Even if you want to get in and you want to do that in the future, that first one needs to be at a lesser price because you quite literally are offering less utility. And that is what we're getting. Nintendo's done this before too. You know, it's not like you know, pros are unheard of, or like slightly altered ones are unheard of, where they tit for tat, where they're like, we're going to give you this, but we're going to remove this. It's not the
or
first time.
Or you get a downgrade sometimes, like the PS Vita originally shipped with OLED screens.
Oh, and then they went to LED, right? Or LCD.
They went to LED screens in the next generation, and it was the same price.
Price.
You're just paying for a lesser screen.
But I do want to point out, Skylar, from what I understand, that is being worked on. I don't think there's much other than what we see there, because Capcom games are on the Xbox. I think what we see is a particular type of game, particular engine that they're having difficulties with. So that's my hope, and that's what it seems to be repaired. And Microsoft has stated pretty openly that they're working on. I believe that was Microsoft who said that. And you know, sometimes they don't air their dirty laundry, so we're stuck guessing. But I would say overall, it's probably that. One Reign of Victory says, if I'm going to pay $70 for a game, I better be getting a box and disc. Yeah, what I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think the $70 is going to be as prevalent as we thought it was. I think the early access is going to be. I think you guys should bone up for preparing that every game, not every game, many games stay at 60, and the early access is offering you 3 days. They get the FOMO and the people paying for the $100. Well, let's hope it's not. That's a lot.
Well, dude, I think we're getting both.
Really
we're getting the base at 70 and then plus early access.
We sometimes see that, but we've also seen games at the old price that do the early access.
Do you really think Sony's going to revert the 70?
No. Sorry. No. I don't think Sony's going to. Sony already stated pretty clearly that they're going to do it, but they also didn't say this magically means we're not going to do cheaper games, which I think everybody's going to investigate the $40 to $50. But
not every single game is going to be 70.
Not every single game is going to be 70. Yeah. But dude, I'm telling you right now, let's say I had a plan nefariously in my brain to raise all my games to 70. Would I tell you that? No, I would not. Like
well, if you were a villain in the movie, you would tell us your plans.
If you were a bad guy, you would. Dude, that is quite literally what they did. They did the James Bond, let me tell you every plan I have. It's like, instead, maybe make it so that people realize that it's offering a little more, and therefore you're doing 70. And it also doesn't mean you're not doing 50, you know, it doesn't mean you're not doing a $40 game here and there and a $50 game. They've all done it. They've all done the mid-tier priced games now. So yeah, dude, early access is a thing, man. I mean, the one thing I thought would not catch on, I thought would catch on, but hope wouldn't catch on as big. I think we're seeing these numbers being reported, and everybody is sitting back going, That's one way to get away from the negative bulk price, which is a big deal. Boom, here's the bulk price of 70. If you can get away from that and give them a soft price of expensive, or on normal release day, it's 60, you know how it is. Not we're all, but a lot of people are going to end up getting there early because of FOMO. And that sucks because the more it works, the more it's going to feed back in. And Shrek says, do you think GTA might be 100? I don't think so. I don't know about you guys. I think that, so let me explain the reason why. GTA has been in the works for a decade, right? Something like that. GTA 6. I think way prior to all the price changes and the inflations and stuff like that, they were still aiming at a 60. I think that's sort of their idea, is to just go at the 60. Will they have premium editions?
Oh yeah.
And guys, who better though to do $100 FOMO edition? And that's what they'll call it. Imagine Rockstar's like, it's at $60, but if you want the FOMO edition, which lets you play 3 days early, you can do that for 100. They're the one.
Mean, they could easily go to 120.
They could.
Oh yeah, people.
They'll throw some shit in there. They'll call it the online Prime backer edition.
Yeah, here's a shark card or whatever.
Just the ultimate edition, like has been the vernacular, right?
Yeah. The deluxe or whatever.
Yeah, I don't see GTA not doing that. No way. They'll have a normal edition at $60, which is the base game. And maybe they'll do a Kickstarter thing, which I'm starting to hate. Kickstarter, Game Fund, all these fucking, they're like, oh, you can get in for $79, but we have an exclusive unlocking every week. By the time the Kickstarter's over, there's 85 expansions, but now you're paying $3.99. I could see GTA doing that, man. Just be like boom, 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 and just adding a ton of stuff. I mean, I don't know. What will there be a statue? Did GTA 5 have a statue?
Not yet. I mean, not yet. No, we haven't seen any.
It didn't.
So GTA 5 didn't have a physical item. Okay. So GTA 6, here's my guess. GTA 6 will show, it'll be a marsh boat with a guy fighting an alligator. And it'll be $290. That'll be your ultimate edition. I just feel like they're going to do a statue. They're going to do something that, like, you know, they 3D print for $3 and sell you for $290.
Yeah. That is one thing. They don't have like the same character over and over. So they can't easily have like, you know, day one, here's a statue, because nobody will know or care about who they are yet. Bants
on Fire says FIFA has early access now. Is that correct? FIFA?
That would not. I mean, I think they've had that for a while with the EA subscription.
Okay.
Where you could play, because with the EA subscription, you could always play EA games like early.
Yeah, but you also get that with the, I believe, premium edition or deluxe, whatever it's called, the more expensive. So the EA program basically gives you that level of access. The same as you paying the premium.
Yeah, Doc's saying the Florida Man statue. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying if they're smart, it doesn't even have to be the character from the game, guys. It doesn't, because it's GTA. They could sell you, it'll be a marsh boat, and it'll just be a dude fight, you know, something, or it'll be a chick twerking, you know, just be a big fat butt twerking on top of half of a car, and they'll sell it to you for $300 and call it the thick.
Yeah, I mean, it'll just be
thick version.
Like they could easily have done that with the Lollipop Girl from like GTA.
Oh yeah, San Andreas.
Yeah. Somebody said that GTA 4 came with a lockbox. I don't know what that reflects in 4. What would a lockbox reflect in 4? Does that reflect a story element in 4 that I'm not remembering? A lockbox?
Yeah, I don't remember the collector's edition.
I don't remember a collector's edition for 4. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying I legit don't remember. I think Lost in the Damned could add a motorbiker, could add Johnny on his motorbike, could have sold that. By the way, I hope I'm not giving them ideas. They don't watch this. Who gives a shit? They do watch it occasionally, but I don't think they're watching this one because I didn't put GTA in the title. Yeah, man, I don't know. We'll have to see, but GTA will do it. Some of these other big games will do it for sure, and we'll continue to get it. Hopefully, we'll just have to see. I think the Pro is going to be an interesting sale. Anybody in chat getting a Pro? Like anybody getting a Pro? PlayStation 5 Pro. And anybody who says yes, guys, don't give them shit. I can do that. I'm just joking. No, don't give them shit.
Maybe the only like cope or thing to feel good about if you buy a PS5 Pro is that you will have the best machine to play GTA 6.
Oh yeah, that's going to be the thing. That's for even if
Well,
GTA.
that's probably still going to be PC for a lot of people, but
Okay,
No, because
well,
it doesn't
true,
release on PC.
but it doesn't release on PC.
no, true.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to be a
That's
year or
what
two.
I mean.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
That's what I mean.
You're
Is
completely
the
right.
again the
No, you're
FOMO.
completely
It's
right.
like day
I just
one.
completely blanked out on the.
I
there
do
not
it
being
too.
a
I've done it
simultaneous
twice.
release.
I've done it twice.
Yeah.
Silver in the middle of conversations. I've been like, well, the PC. Oh, wait. By the way, Matthew says, I got a hat, a blueprint map that was useless in game, and a heist bag and some other stuff for GTA 5 $100 version. Robert says security deposit bag wasn't for 4. He's saying I meant with 5. Okay, because of the heists. Because of the heists. Okay, I got you. Damn. Yeah, so they were already doing that kind of stuff. Yep, that's what we'll get. It'll be a thing. I can't see that it won't be like for sure a real thing that we see with GTA. And what I was going to say is I'm sure Sony will sell it as the best place to play. GTA 5.
I still have probably can't see it, but this is from a collector's edition of Max Payne 3
Yep.
for my keyring.
A single bullet?
Yeah, with Max Payne 3 embossed on it.
How much did that cost you?
I think it was like the usual $150, $200 or something. Yeah. And then there was also a statue who's standing up.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
'Cause
Dude, you
I
had me
thought just
going.
a bullet,
It wasn't just the keyring.
I'd be like that. No, I'm not even going to go there. I have a really dark joke. We'll move on. But I was like, if it's just the bullet,
For 200, the bullet is going somewhere.
Yeah, dude, man, you had me going that entire time. I was like, what are you fucking doing to me, Silver?
I will
But
say
Silver,
that like the statues definitely seemed like, I don't know what they did with it, but it didn't handle heat very well. So Max is sort of leaned over to where he's just
Oh damn!
because of the heat
it's
has
like,
been
it's like he's bullet
softened it.
dodging, like you know.
That's amazing. That is what if they plan that? They're like, we have an idea over time that soft
Well,
ankles,
gradually.
right? And he's just like, it's like a Michael Jackson, dum 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 dum.
No, wait,
Just
I
slightly.
can probably get the statue down. Give
Yeah,
me a
grab
minute.
it. I'll see it. Of all of us, I think Silver's got the most, right? Of the
Yeah, I think so.
I've done
a couple. Yeah.
Have you?
I got
What ones have
couple.
you
I
done?
got a
What ones have
I
you
got
guys
a
in chat done?
Sephiroth
Oh,
from
Sephiroth?
Rebirth, and I got a Sekiro statue from the game. Those are pretty cool, but I honestly, it's not worth it. Like I
Yeah.
look at them sometimes, and I think it's cool, but it's just not something you use. You know, unless you're a big collector, it doesn't really.
Yeah, I mean, dude, some of them have looked great, like
Yeah,
truly great, but
because you have the helmet, don't you? The Halo.
right. But no, dude, get off my podcast. Did you just say I have the Halo cat helmet?
Yeah, I thought
The
you-
fucking
I thought you
3-inch
had the
Zika
cat
helmet? No, I don't
helmet.
have that fucking thing. What are you
Okay.
talking? I would never get
I
that.
don't know, man.
I do have. You had me going, and I thought we were friends, but now I fucking hate.
Yeah.
No, I have the helmet from Watch Dogs that they gave me like 6 months
Oh.
after the game came out. They sent me the helmet. That helmet has moved from room to room to room because in a moment you see it and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool.
That's cool.
That's
Yeah.
it for that moment. And then you're like, I'm not going to put that up so that friends can come over and be like, dude, why do you have a skeleton with a crown?
Do you ever
And
put it on? Is there like a
No, no. It's
role
not.
play?
It's
where
a
you're
filled
like,
helmet. No,
you
but
talk
that would
to
be
your wife like, listen.
yeah, with the I'm like,
just go
listen,
with this.
who's the king?
There it
no,
is.
no.
Oh,
What the hell?
Yeah.
He really is leaning. What
he's
the
full.
shit? But I love that he's holding the gun normal. He's just like,
yeah, he's
that's
normal.
amazing. That's amazing. That is awesome. Well, that's Max Payne 3. That's also, I think, one of the like definitely higher detailed. I sort of dig that. That's not a bad looking like sort of
Yeah.
Yeah,
3D
no, I was pretty
creation.
happy with it. The first like until it started, but
Yeah.
it's pretty funny. So
Dude, you missed it. Johnny just accused me of having the Zika cat helmet from Halo. Damn. I remember when that
But
Halo.
the
when
thing
that,
is, like, you didn't know it was that small
I
when
know.
people ordered it.
I
Like,
know because those lied, man.
yeah.
Dude, that helmet when you first saw it, you're like, oh, it's gonna be
Yeah,
be
that
a
looks-
full on. It's gonna be a helmet. This is gonna be awesome. And then you get it, and you're like, come the fuck on, guys. Especially for that cost, because back then they were one of the first ones, and it was pretty expensive. I think that was $300. I could be wrong on that. It could have been $199, but it was expensive enough that I was like, come on, dude, come on, just give me the full helmet. People are just now reacting to the Max Payne thing. That is funny though. I haven't had anything do that. I don't really have any collectibles of that kind. You know what I do like? I don't like the CD case. You guys, we're getting the hard cases, which a lot of times have a digital version anyway. But I do. So I've always been a collector of coins. And for comic books, sometimes they'll have like a coin that looks a little bit like the cover of one of the more popular comic books in a series, like Hulk or something like that. I do like things that look like that. I like metal embossed stuff. That would probably
New Vegas had some pretty nice.
I got this guy as well.
Yeah, that might get me. Oh, plushie.
Edition, I think.
Plushie. Yeah.
That's from Yakuza? No.
No, from Final Fantasy,
Fantasy,
the Cactuar guys.
Yeah, I love the mask from Persona 5. Yeah, those kind of things. Yeah, those kind of things.
Yeah,
might
that's
work
I
out.
got a pretty cool. Yeah, here it is.
Okay, so in chat, if you did get what would sell you on a premium? Let's talk about GTA 6. GTA 6, what would sell you on getting a premium? Let's say the premium is $200. What would you want to see?
Witcher 3.
Yeah, see that kind of stuff. I'm a little bit more into. I mean, I wouldn't wear it, unless I was like pimping out or something.
Also,
like nobody'd wear that fucking thing. But I would like
robotic
that.
arm from Phantom Payne.
Oh, interesting. I don't remember that.
Can actually
I don't remember that at
set
all.
up the fingers and whatnot.
Do you know what I would take if it was full size? A fucking Needler from Halo. That one I can admit. I would, if somebody created a Needler from Halo, they used the right color for the needles. They were like a plasticky.
What if they made it
clear
like
Inserted
an
the
air
sound effect when you pull the trigger.
Dude, I would straight up. I would go for that. So go
What
ahead,
if they
Johnny.
made it like an airsoft or something where you could actually shoot from it?
It would be less. It would be less cool because I would look at the utilitarian part of it and be like, you're not going to use this because you're going to break stuff. It was just a full big Needler with the sound effects and the crystals looking see-through.
Yeah.
Where you've seen that sometimes they can do a hard plastic that's still see-through and looks like crystal. I'd be all for that. Arrow says a remote control boat. Okay, a remote control marsh boat for GTA 6 would rock. Dude, that's a good idea. See that? Well, that'd be way more than 300 though. That'd be way more.
Yeah,
but,
that's crazy.
Yeah. Jostler says, what about BFG? Yeah, I wouldn't want a BSG. Ricardo says a diecast of a car, a good one. That's fair. Hamish says, based on location, we want
like
an
a
alligator
lowrider or
statue.
something.
Thank you. That's what I said
Maybe.
earlier. Yeah, lowrider or something like that. That could work.
Or
Robert says
probably
cocaine.
like a street sports car or something.
Yeah.
Street racing.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. I paid a bit extra for a stuffed liquor toy when I bought Resident. I was like, what the fuck?
Oh,
When I bought
okay.
Resident Evil 2 remake.
I was thinking liquor toy.
He even
and
says,
then-
well, that sounds wrong. And I'm like, that does sound
Yeah,
wrong because I
it
even
does.
paused when I
Good,
you know,
good thing he added the bit about Resident Evil.
Nemesis, Mr. What was
Yeah.
it? What was the guy with the hat?
Yeah, Mr. X or something.
If that was done incredibly well, I'm not saying I would buy it. I'm saying though that kind of thing, that iconic, it's better than the main.
There was a
character
really
even,
cool replica of the Master Sword, blotched in
for Zelda.
in the stone or whatever for the first for Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild.
That I really liked. Unfortunately, it got knocked over and it snapped for me.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Those. I think that kind of thing,
But
depending
it was
on
really cool.
would be, it could be cool. The Jostler says liquor toy, barely knew her. Yeah, I was a little confused on the liquor toy myself. I remember Call of Duty had night vision goggles. Okay, night vision goggles have got pretty cheap. For ones that generically
Like
work and they don't
functional
just put.
ones?
Yeah, we have a pair, and my dad, who has land, will have to check for coyotes, and so night vision goggles are actually much more helpful.
That
than
right
a
there
flashlight.
is another role play opportunity. Just saying.
Night vision goggles, the
Lights
Witcher,
out.
the Witcher necklace, and be like, let's go, baby. Paint the Witcher necklace with a little bit of glow in the dark color. Be like, let's do this. We aren't counting
Until it
Kickstarter stuff
actually
for this
starts
conversation. No.
vibrating. Then
Yeah,
it's not
well-
so cool anymore.
Well, yeah. Indio says my friend has those goggles, but did they work? I think they did. I think those night vision goggles were fully functional. They weren't just the ones that paint the green over the screen, you know, and pretend
The
they're night
filter,
vision.
yeah.
Yeah, the filter. I need a full Crisis bodysuit. Oh, Crisis could have some good ones. Do we have a Crisis 4 coming? We do, right? I'm pretty sure I heard that. Or am I going completely?
I haven't heard
insane? I feel
anything.
like now I'm going insane because I said it. Nobody said anything. Maybe I'm going insane. I thought we did. Wait a minute. I think we do. Let me look. I think we do have a Crisis 4 coming. Let me check here. Did you guys also see that Space Marine 2 is the second biggest new game of this year after just 2 weeks? Behind Helldivers 2, but in front of everything else in the UK.
That's awesome.
In the UK. Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, and it'll
Crisis
probably last for another another week until EAFC releases.
Oh, dude, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
and
the
I
sell-through
hope
on
it
that.
lasts. I hope it lasts until the first the season drops with the new stuff, the new weapon and the new maps and stuff.
Yeah.
Carry over the momentum.
Jay Reaper did remind me. Somebody says Red Dead 1 came with a map, and admittedly, I liked that.
It did,
map.
yeah.
Yeah. Didn't Skyrim come with a map? Wait a minute. Skyrim came with a cloth map? Am I right on that? Didn't Skyrim come with a map?
No, it didn't.
It didn't?
It came with an Alduin statue that I
This
have up
fucker
there.
looks up to the right
And
because
I
he's
have a
got it.
huge-
I love
have
it.
the huge box over there. Yeah.
I love it that I ask it. You're all, well, let me
Yeah.
tell you. Let me tell you exactly what Skyrim came from.
Well,
That's
what's
fucking
interesting
awesome.
is that they used to
Yeah.
include that type of stuff in the base edition. Like I bought Saint
Oh, yeah.
Andreas.
Yeah,
and
when
it
there
came
was a
with
full
map, like
yeah.
and now you're lucky if you get the game in the box. Like
I don't need that other stuff. For example, a map. I don't need a map in the box, so I'm okay with
Fair
it
enough.
being removed.
Yeah.
But back then, when you didn't even have you didn't even have
because you
like good
didn't
map
expect
screens.
it either.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a nice extra. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which game added difficulty as an option? Wasn't it Zelda that sold you a difficulty?
Yes, it did.
Did
Sold you a
Stalker
master
Exodus
difficulty.
also sell you a difficulty? Ranger didn't, or was that
Yes,
just a
it
patch
did.
later? It did, yeah.
No, he did.
Jojo, what's up, Jojo? He says Red Dead did also come with a map. Okay. Abbreviated review says I think the base version of GTA 5 came with a paper map back in the PS3. Oh my God, PS3 days.
Yeah, that's how old it is.
That's how old that is. GTA is ancient and still, by the way, looks pretty good.
But
Like,
it
not-
did
yeah.
come with a map. Just, I think the paper was kind of very plasticky.
Aries says
Yeah.
that was Metro Last Light. Okay, so Metro Last Light sold you the deals,
Oh,
the
true.
difficulty. Yeah.
Because
I knew
when
that
people
there was
say paper map, I think of like old timey maps.
Papyrus.
Like a papyrus. Yeah.
signed by the
Or like-
artist who drew each
Yeah.
one by hand. Yeah, I like the
I got
paper
a
maps.
cloth map, I think, with my collector's edition of Pillars of Eternity.
I want to shout out, just so everybody knows, if you have a JPEG, good quality, or use an upscaler, you have a PNG of a map, you can actually go online and type in customizable, cloth map. Send them the PNG and they'll print it out for you. So if you want a physical map, if you want half of the shit we're talking about, you can get that. Like I've had multiple people getting various different things that they weren't aware you could just get online. Now they have all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And you can also see the price. And you can be like, whoa, they're charging us a premium when they do that because they're ordering
yeah.
at scale. And when it's like $19 and you're all, wait, if it's $19 for one, drop that down by about $17 if you order it at scale. Those guys are ripping you off. But
Just like the controllers.
did you guys realize that PS5 Pro doesn't have better controllers? They're just the same controllers too.
Same
Which
controller.
Yeah, which I'm happy for and sad for. Happy because no compatibility issues, right? No weird extra. But I would have liked a better battery. That's just me,
Yeah, but because also the controller would have worked on both.
Yeah.
Right? Like it
Yeah.
wouldn't be exclusive to the
No, you
new-
could have just. I think maybe they just don't have the size.
Yeah.
this batteries just. There's a lot there.
Can't we just make like a big controller, like a,
Dude, make a Duke for the new
yeah,
ones.
like
That's
and
just
fit like twice the size of the battery in it. Like,
listen, here's a hot take. Straight up, this is not a lie. I love AA battery replacements for the Xbox, and there's two reasons. One, no battery pack that can go bad that I have to go buy an exact battery pack from somebody else. But two, you can get the newer AA's that are last much longer. Great. They're deeper cell. Rechargeable. Throw them in there. And again, I understand why people don't like it, but you can still buy packs for the Xbox anyway. You know, a packed battery where they're seamed together and they're their own thing. But all of the batteries I use for the Xbox are higher and better than whatever, you know, that you would get in a normal system. And to me, I love it. I know people don't like it. It seems to be I'm on the negative.
The counter argument is that if you have something like the Elite, when you put this down on the dock for, you know, you're done playing, it's charging. When you pick it up, it's good to go. Like it's charged. You don't have to worry about it.
But you can do that with both of these if you have AA's because they charge through the dock.
Oh, they do? I see. Yeah, so there you go, I guess.
Yeah, they charge through the port just like anything. So you can either charge them through the port or have AA's that are charging somewhere. You know, you can do whatever, but they charge just fine. Yeah, it's nice. Again, apparently people love to be stymied and held down to a very accountable controller battery. I don't know why, but I like having the choice. I know that people, I'm definitely on the, you know, smaller side of people who like it.
People liking using the batteries, and I've done it a lot too.
We were talking about Deus Ex earlier. I have Adam Jensen right next to me, actually.
Oh damn!
That's an action.
Nice.
From
Human Revolution
Collector's Edition. Yeah,
that's Human Revolution. I can tell that guy from a mile away. I don't know what it is about that model, but it seems to be like the one that, to me, I can pick up from the others. Amro says, I'll never forget the manual for Mech Commander having full colored pages of all the mechs in the game with their details. It was like a free technical readout bundled with the box. Yeah, if people don't know what he's talking about, Mech Warrior and Battletech have these technical readout like books that you can buy that show all of the specs for the mechs. And if you're a nerd like me, buying one of those and reading it was it. I don't know what it is about seeing the tonnage for a mech or seeing the stats and stuff. That kind of shit just stoked me out. I loved having those for D&D. And they weren't even really very, you know, there was no flower text. It was like this mech. Well, they would say when it was created and who made it and maybe some flaws in its design, but it was more about just seeing that art, and it fired me up. I love that kind of stuff. What else do we got? Let's check the news. Let's check new news, see if we missed anything. People are bitching about, oh my God, bitching about Astrobot still. Jeez, whatever. Just a game. No, that's about it for that kind of stuff. Man, I thought it was going to be a dead podcast, but we actually had a bunch of stuff to talk about. There's a crazy amount. And a crazy amount of games. Did you guys see Microsoft Flight Sim? I don't know why IGN's calling it the first preview, because there's been about 85 previews of Flight Sim. Whatever. But Final Fantasy, Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 is coming out this year too. And they announced to get started, you only need to download 30 gigs, which is cool.
You know, it's funny. No, because that was one of the reasons for the longest time I didn't play the game. It was such a big download, and the store is very slow, right? The download.
Yeah, I mean, it'll literally take you days.
Yeah, take you days.
Yeah, and so if you start out at I don't know how they do this. I don't know exactly if you say where you're going to start from, but it seems like it basically puts you in a spot and
gives you a horizon.
It gives you that area, and then downloads the rest as you play, which is cool. It means you probably won't be able to jump around. A little like when a game lets you download the multiplayer, not the single player, or single player, not the that kind of stuff. But hey, I like it. I don't have an issue with the on some games, when I know it's a game like Flight Sim, I'm not bothered by the massive download size to get it all. That's what I'll do. But the idea of somebody wanting to jump in because they don't know, it's always a huge plus, because not everybody knows. Yeah, not everybody knows. Flight Sim is going to be awesome. People have been asking also on Flight Sim, do you need a control or do you need a joystick? No,
you don't.
Dude, not at all. I played 80 plus hours of that without, and then finally plugged one in. Did it make it feel more immersive? Yes, but did it
Do you need to adjust
magically
stuff to be able to play with the controller? Like,
No,
are
you
you
don't.
missing different?
No, their
I mean,
flights
obviously depends kind of on what you want to do, how
Yeah.
advanced you want to get with the
how
controls,
advanced
right?
you want. Yeah.
But if you just want to run it basically, just take off, land, fly around.
And they did a good
You
job
can
with the
just pick up and play.
shortcuts. Like, yeah, you could pick, and they did. The
Awesome.
tutorial was quite good. Even day one, I remember getting that and worried that the tutorial would, would be like, hold this and then fucking rub your elbow against this, and it has to be on a Tuesday. And I was playing it and going like, damn, I can do everything in this fairly easily. And with the joystick, that's great. Joystick's got other stuff. You can buy joysticks. You can buy ones with, HOTAS. You can buy the full thing if you want. You can buy a little mini thing. It adds to the immersion, but do you need it? No. And in fact, I think Wizard of Smoke, who plays it a bunch in stream in the Discord, I don't think he's using a joystick. And he's a professional pilot. That's his job. And he's playing it with a gamepad. He's like, whatever, it works fine for me. So I would say don't worry about that if you want to jump into this game. It's also going to have a ton of jobs, which I think is cool. I think that's the big difference, right? Is
That's
like
really
this.
cool, yeah.
It to me, that's the magic of a sequel. That I know that people are like, oh, we don't want
It
this.
can
we don't
enhance
want
the
that.
experience, yeah.
It can, and it can look at what the problems were with the original. You get a lot of people being like,
address them, yeah.
they did a terrible job. We need to, that company needs to go away. And I'm like, I don't think so, man. I think technically, if they had a good idea, as is said, let it cook. God, I fucking hate I said that out loud. Hate that I said that. I fucking hate that term. Doom Reaper says, can get a good flight stick for about 80 if you want. Shit, man. You can get one for cheaper than that. Well, I mean, good is relative, but you can get one that works for years for pretty cheap. Yeah. Or you can spend 500 and get. Did you guys see the dude who's got the rally setup? He's on VR. He's got the VR setup, and it's he set up the full hydraulics and shit, and he was playing, and his monitors are jostling. And I remember laughing, going, I wonder if the warranty covers that monitor jerking around, on these gimbals. But it looked pretty sweet. He had like bass rumblers in there to give him the full bass effect of crashing the car and stuff. That's, I mean, obviously well beyond anybody I know and their level of income, but still pretty fucking cool that you can do that kind of stuff and get it set up. And even the consoles have a lot of the force feedback things built in. It's pretty crazy how much you can do there. What else do we got? Well, from me, you guys will be seeing, we're not finishing right at this exact moment, but next week, 2 or 3 videos from me. I'm trying to really figure out how to cover some of this stuff because there's a lot coming out next week in the terms of coverage of different games. 1 or 2 reviews, but a lot of previews are popping next week for different titles. So I'm looking at that, trying to figure it out. Johnny's been uploading to his new channel, which is, what's it called, Johnny?
It's called Johnny Plays Garen. So I'll just put a message in the chat here, and you can see how it's written. So yeah, I just upload a daily League of Legends video where I play the same champion every day. So you will see like a different matchup against a different champion every day, and I commentate the match and my thought process and everything.
It's really cool.
Just sharing the journey there.
And we were talking about this
really
one's doing
good.
better than the prior channel.
Yeah, it's doing bananas compared to, because the videos are so recommendable, right? Because if someone watches and likes one video, there's a super high chance they will like the next one because it's the same type of content exactly. So it's been really rewarding to see it shown to people.
YouTube
and people
has gone to that bingeable thing. So I mean, even reviews don't do that. People might like a review on God of War, but they don't care about Jedi. And if that was the next game I did, people are like, that's not for me. But when it's like League, if you have a channel that's this is Minecraft proved this a decade ago. It's like if you can get people to just stick around and they're enjoying one to the next, even if it's repetitive content, it's like, I'm going to show you this. It's going to be, it doesn't matter. Like, that's why I think more people who like games, a particular game, throw a YouTube channel up. You may be surprised. Like, you might
give
be
it a
genuinely surprised on how well it does. Yeah, that kind of stuff is awesome. Also, I think it's wholesome. Not wholesome. Weird word. I don't know why I use it. I think it's useful for somebody like yourself who likes that game, is going to continue to play that game, and likes just generally likes making the content for that and doing that,
Yeah.
it's less stressful on you to have to look for content. Because even myself, news, I've got the October video coming up that's already recorded and edited. I have to decide when to go live with that. But those kind of videos, you have to search stuff and you have to research stuff. And there's this whole rigmarole around it where something like this is like, dude, I'm just going to play the game, explain it.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is awesome. Let's see. Doom Reaper says, got to go save Willamette. It depends on where you're from. It could be Willamette or Willamette Mall again. He's talking about Red Dead.
Yeah. No,
Or
that's Dead Rising.
Yeah, Dead Rising.
Oh,
Red
yeah.
Dead. That would be amazing. What else we got? Any books or movies?
They did
or-
make a zombie game out of that as well. So
And it was a great DLC.
Yeah,
One of the
it
best.
was.
And it was a standalone at first,
Yep.
wasn't it? Yeah, that was Red.
Wait,
Was it-
that I don't actually remember. If
It was a standalone later.
I'm
I think
unsure.
it was DLC and then standalone later, if I remember right. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Um,
might be true.
Any books, music, TV shows? I'm rewatching Upload with a mood ski. We're doing a group. We rewatch that.
Oh, nice.
That's, dude, fucking. I laughed for
Yeah,
like
good
half an
show.
hour last night. Every episode, I was just like, dude, I wish I would have rewatched this sooner. I rewatched it a couple times already, but what about you guys? Any shows, movies, books?
I am currently rewatching from on my part his Dark Materials with Sleeve.
The
I
TV
haven't
show.
seen that
The
yet.
TV show. Yeah.
Yeah, based
Yeah.
on the books by Philip Pullman.
Pretty
You
good.
recommend it? I haven't seen
I
it
do
yet.
very much so. Yeah, Sleeve was complaining to me that like he was really missing a good fantasy show, and
Hmm.
so I brought
It's
up
British,
his
isn't
Dark
it?
Materials.
Isn't it like
yes,
a
it is.
BBC? Yeah.
Yeah, it's made by the BBC, and then
Yeah.
HBO handled like the US and I
Oh,
think
great.
international distribution. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Cool.
it should be available on Max in a lot of countries. It is on in mine, and in the UK it should be available on BBC iPlayer, where it's available there for Slave. But it's a really solid show. Stars James McAvoy, Ruth Wilson, Daphne Keane. Absolutely stellar acting, really amazing CGI effects. Like the season 2 and 3 are not quite to the par of season 1, but still decent overall show. On the show, decent adaptation. It's a really solid fantasy show.
Excellent. What about you, Johnny?
I've been watching Arrow, which is a really easy to watch show. It's just nice to sit and enjoy. And then I've been reading the first Harry Potter book. I'm almost done with that. And then I'll pick up the next one. I picked up just a beautiful edition, by the way. It comes with illustrations and little things that extend and come out in different ways.
Like an old pop-up storybook?
Like those, a little bit, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, some really incredible stuff. So really enjoying the editions and the stories. Remembering some of the movies back then. I mean, it's the years now, right? Since the movies came out. So it's all a bit of a fog, but they do come back to memory as I read and find out more about stuff. And it's been great. It's an easy read, and it's really good to get back to reading, because I kind of was in a bit of a funk for reading for a while. So it's been nice to get back.
I also started watching Arrow when you were talking about it. So I got 4 episodes last night done.
Yeah.
And
It's a good start,
dude,
isn't it?
Yeah, dude, it's just, I don't, it's a longer show and I've watched it
Yeah.
all before, but it's actually fun to just rewatch and watch a superhero just kill people. To me, that's just exciting. It was different, felt good. Also, I think that he's been sort of treated like shit by them. It's like, especially as we've gotten farther away from Arrow, like there's been all kinds of, there's obviously some bad blood between them and him in particular, but that show in particular, which is weird because really, when you look at it, they single-handedly kept that entire network going for a couple years and then had all the split-off shows. But yeah, I've enjoyed the hell out of that. I like Steven a lot. I just watched the podcast he did with Michael Rosenbaum.
Yeah, I saw
whatever.
a slightly older one. I don't know if I've seen exactly that.
Yeah, the new one was 2 days ago, and
Oh, cool.
I really enjoyed watching that and hearing some behind the scenes of
Yeah.
like especially the ending of Arrow and some of the troubles that went on there. But it was fun to hear him talk. He's doing Suits, which the new spinoff of Suits, and Suits is a TV show I really enjoyed. So I'm happy to see him doing that. I like him generally. I also like that he's pretty open about what he says. He said some stuff that hasn't necessarily endeared him to like TV show industry. And I sort of dig that, whether I agree with it or not. I'm okay with people who have different opinions of stuff. I know that that's not what we do right now, but like some of the things that he talks about, you just don't hear a lot of people talk about as much. They're sort of in the industry and in the quagmire of the industry, so that it's always fun to see him. And books wise, man, you know what? I've just been reading a bunch of like really like in-depth critiques on stuff, whether it be cyberpunk or whether it be fantasy. Couple critiques on fantasy and where it is right now that have been enjoyable.
Yeah.
Haven't really dived into anything new though that are in those genres. I've tried, but it's quite difficult for me to I don't know, man. Like once I find a book I like, we were talking about replaying a game. I have a tendency to reread the book instead of like I've read, Altered Carbon 10 times versus Jumpin', and I've tried to jump to so many others, and I've been like, oh, this isn't whatever. It's not for me. I'll just reread. Thin Air from Morgan as well, who wrote Altered Carbon, has been really good. So, looking in here, people are saying Tulsa King. Oh, geez, Tulsa King. Yeah, man. Have you guys seen
new season, right?
Dude, yeah. I really like Tulsa King. That is a great show. Yeah. So I'll definitely dive into that. That'll be it for us. I hope you guys have an excellent week. When we get done, if you could thumbs up this video, I would absolutely appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, I would appreciate that. iTunes and Spotify versions will be up in about 2 hours usually. If you guys get a chance, rate it. It is helpful to the channel. If you want to jump into a really cool Discord, you can jump into the Patreon. I think our Discord is actually pretty cool. Pretty okay. It's acceptable.
100%.
It's better than dying. It's better than dying.
We're streaming a lot of Space Marine 2. If you're looking for a group to play with,
yep.
Silver is always there helping people. I try to be there as well sometimes and help out, and we have a really friendly community there.
Yeah, it's very cool. Even when you're playing with Cyanide, who's a yeller. Cyanide's so loud. I love him. He is. He's awesome to play with, but he gets excited, man. He's like, let's do it. And you're like, Cyanide, it's okay. It's the menu. Dude, calm down. You're just outfitting your character. He's so excitable. Peace out, everybody. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your week and a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.